A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
Five bells. Stand by all stations.
Attention, all districts. The 5-alarm fire. 5 bells. Move in immediately.
That's it. Let's go. Let's go. Firefighters.
Presenting Firefighters, the true-to-life story of our unsung heroes who stand ready to ride by day or night against our most murderous enemy, the demon of fire. In just a minute, we'll take you to Upper Falls, where Chief Cody and Tim Collins, rookie firemen, both on a holiday from the city fire department, are visiting Tim's cousin Ellery, who is chief of the Upper Falls Volunteer Fire Brigade. But before we join Tim Collins, here's a message for you. Let's go, firefighters. Let's go to the farm of Ellery Collins at Upper Falls. There's been great excitement down at the firehouse in the village this evening, and now Ellery is proudly playing host to his guests from the city, Cousin Tim Collins and Chief Cody. As the men sit round the table in the kitchen, Chief Cody casts a longing glance at the cookie jar, and Ellery invites him to...
Oh, come on, Chief. Help yourself. Don't be bashful.
No, I know when enough's enough.
those are mighty good cookies, Chief.
Well...
Only 2 left in the jar. Now, you know, my wife won't like it if there's any left, you know.
Well, if you put it that way.
That's the idea. Come on, Tim. You finish the other one.
I don't care if I do. Not that I need it. Kids will get a kick out of this.
Who, my pal Jimmy?
Uh-huh.
Oh, he's in bed long ago, I should hope.
And Pete. Pete's my own boy, Chief. Wait till they wake up tomorrow and find you're here for the weekend.
I'm afraid I won't be much company for them. I told my deputy it's time the old man took some time off.
Well, what do you want to do, Chief? Hike around and see the country?
The boys can tell you anything you want to know about fishing, Chief.
Well, you know what I told my deputy?
Well, I hope you told him not to call you no matter what.
Yeah, that's right, Chief. It must be years since you took a holiday.
Feels like it, boy. Well, I told my deputy, I said, I'm going to put on my old clothes and stretch out under an apple tree and go to sleep. And that's where I'm going to stay, I told him, until time to get back to work.
Well, if that's your program, Chief Cody, we'll see that nobody spoils it for you. Won't we, Tim?
Yes, sir. We'll keep the kids off your neck, Chief. You've got 2 whole days to do nothing but sleep.
Well, gentlemen, I better start practicing. Ellery, where do I sleep tonight?
All right, this way, Chief. Keep one eye open and follow me.
Next morning, Chief Cody starts the day by putting his program into practice. Dressed in his shabbiest old clothes, he wanders off into the meadows after breakfast, picks out a tree, and stretches out. Yes, Chief Cody goes right to work on his holiday program without delay. While in the farmhouse, Tim Collins is hunting for his cousin Ellery and finds him at the telephone. Ellery? Hey, Ellery, where are you?
Right here, Tim. Be right with you. I'm on the phone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, hello, Warden. This is Chief Collins at Upper Falls. Yeah, still pretty dry in this part of the country, but... Yeah, that's what I want to tell you, Warden. Next time there's trouble in the district, you can count us in. You can count on Upper Falls to tackle any fire in the Midland District. Sure, we've got water. We've got a new tank truck. Carries 1,000 gallons of water anywhere we want it to go. You can count on us. Right. Goodbye, Warden.
Hey, you're grinning all over like a Cheshire cat.
Well, I ought to be, Tim. The district warden, he says it's a gift from the gods.
What, is your new tank truck?
Yep. Funny, we never figured that out for ourselves. You need water at a fire and can't get it from the wells because they've run dry. So you get hold of an oil truck, flush her clean, and there's your water carrier.
Yeah, ready to stand by while your engine pumps the stream onto the blaze.
And she'll do to fill backpacks, too.
Yeah, for forest fires. I hadn't thought of that.
Well, that's why the district warden was shouting hallelujah just now. He's got the whole Midland District on his hands. All the woods, that is, from Upper Falls to the lakes and far across is Little Narrow Neck.
Yeah, it's dry as a bone, too, this weather.
Yeah. Never a day passes that they don't spot a trace of smoke somewheres in the woods.
Hey, say, how do the wardens find those fires in time, Ellery?
Well, there's men always on watch, Tim. Some on patrol, and some in the towers and the high spots. And the district warden, he's all over the place. Come fire in the woods, he sits up aloft giving orders.
He does what?
Sits up aloft, up in the sky, in one of those helicopters.
A helicopter?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hey, you fellas are right up to date.
I guess we're not so far behind the times at that.
And I suppose the district warden directs his men by two-way radio.
Sometimes. Other times he just hovers over and hollers at them.
Well, I'd like to see that firefighting setup, Ellery.
Well, we'll hunt up the district warden and get acquainted. Guess we can show you some things about firefighting that you'll never learn in the city.
Already, Tim looks forward to meeting the district warden, learning how sharp eyes in the plain overhead scan mile upon mile of dry, tindery forest lands. Alert for the telltale plume of smoke that spells danger, devouring flame, devastation. But Tim doesn't suspect how soon he will be plunged headlong into this unfamiliar phase of firefighting. Tim cannot possibly know that miles away, a car from the city is speeding along the highway that cuts across the forest. The driver has not a care in the world. He notes that his cigarette is burned down to a stub, tosses it from the window of the car, and races on his way, still without a care in the world. But the cigarette has landed in the tangle of dead grass, leaves, dry thorns, and twigs at the side of the road. A light breeze fans the coal. A rim of red fire runs across the tuft of grass, becomes a little flame that snatches at a clump of weeds. The little flame climbs into a low bush, devours the dry branches in one foray, and becomes a big flame, leaps the ditch through the foliage of a small evergreen, becomes a blaze roaring through the forest, the dread beginning of a forest fire.
Air Patrol to headquarters, calling headquarters, fire in Midland Forest, fire in Midland, map reference is H7, fire at square H7 on your map, point of origin is near the highway, looks like a bad one, heading for Upper Falls, warn Upper Falls, alert all volunteers, all wardens report for duty, issue backpacks and tools to volunteers.
At headquarters of the Forest Protection Service, a warden turns to the map, locates the letter H on one edge of the map, and the number 7, draws 2 quick lines that cross at point H7, the point where fire has been reported. He marks a cross at H7 and takes up the telephone. He twists the crank of the telephone, ringing the emergency call that will summon listeners to join the party line all through the countryside. And miles away, one of the listeners is Ellery Collins, chief of the Upper Falls Volunteer Fire Brigade.
Give me that again. H7 on the fire map. That's on the Woods Road just below Break Leg Hill. Yes, I know. With the wind behind it, that fire is coming our way. Well, tell the district warden we'll be there to meet it. We're bringing a new tank truck. We'll be there. Fire in the woods, Tim.
Heading this way, you said?
Yep, wind's behind it. And it's uphill all the way through the wildest tangle of woods you ever saw.
What's your plan, Ellery?
Our best chance is to drive her right up Break Leg Hill. Stop her dead at the top.
Yes, sir. Mind if I come along? Mac, the fellow who drove the tank down from the city last night.
Went home, didn't he?
Yeah, I can drive that truck, Ellery.
I was hoping you could. Let's get down to the firehouse. My car's out by the barn.
As Tim and Cousin Ellery run for the car, the fire alarm down in the village begins to sound.
There goes the alarm to the firehouse. That means the engine's about to roll.
We'll catch you with the tank truck, though.
Come on, jump in.
All right, Ellery. What about Chief Cody?
Where boss is he?
Out there in the meadow under that tree.
Let him sleep. He's got a holiday coming.
Maybe you're right.
Every man jack in the whole country will be there, Tim. We don't need to trouble the chief.
As Tim Collins and his cousin Ellery speed away from the farm to share in the defense of this quiet countryside against fire in the forest, the noise of their going comes to the ears of Chief Cody. Shabby in his old clothing as any farmhand, he jumps to his feet, locates the source of the noise that has disturbed him.
The fire alarm. Down on the firehouse in the village. Collins! Ellery! Turn out!
All his plans for a holiday forgotten, the chief runs to the barnyard and dashes into the barn.
Ellery, what's the matter? You gone deaf? Great blistering blazes, nobody's here. Car's gone, too. Well, how do you like that? They left me flat on my back, snoring my head off.
He charges out again into the meadow from which he can see down the rolling slope to the village of Upper Falls. As he stands staring, he becomes aware of a strange disturbance overhead.
Well, what do you know? A helicopter. Hey, it's coming down here.
In low, slow flight, the helicopter drops down toward Chief Cody standing in the meadow. As it comes toward him, he reads the name painted on the fuselage.
Forest Service. That's the patrol plane I've heard about. Hey! Hey, Forest Service! I want a lift! Come on down here! Give me a lift!
As the Forest Service patrol plane drops down toward Chief Cody, he realizes in the flash that here is his chance to get to the scene of the fire, though he has as yet no idea of the nature of the conflagration. Nor does he realize that to the warden in the plane, he looks like an elderly hired hand, not at all like the smartly uniformed Chief Cody who heads the fire department in the city 20 miles away. For Chief Cody's trip to the fire scene, listen to our next true-to-life episode of The Firefighters. In just a moment, Chief Bob Cody will tell you, boys and girls, how you can help the firefighters in your own town. But first, here's a message you ought to hear. And now, Chief Bob Cody with a special notice for the Firefighters Brigade. Chief Cody.
Hello, boys and girls. This is your friend, Chief Cody, with a word of warning. And I hope you'll pass it along because it's important, and it's pretty simple, too. Just this. Never trust a fire. I mean, if you make a campfire sometime, or a rubbish fire, or a fire to burn off dry grass, don't take your eyes off of it while it's burning. And when you're through, be sure it's out. Remember, fire is treacherous. In a matter of seconds, it can spread far and wide if you don't watch it with care. So never trust a fire. Well, that's all, and so long for now.
Fire Chief Cody and the young rookie fireman Tim Collins will be back on the same station the next time you hear.
That's it. Let's go! Let's go! Firefighters!
Pepsi-Cola, P-E-P-S-I. That's your smartest cola buy. Pepsi-Cola presents Counterspy.
Washington calling David Harding, Counterspy. Washington calling David Harding, Counterspy.
Harding, Counterspy, calling Washington.
United States Counterspies, especially appointed to investigate and combat the enemies of our country, both at home and abroad.
Tonight, the case of the Hoodlum's hero. A thrilling counter-spy report to the American people. Brought to you each Tuesday and Thursday by delicious Pepsi-Cola. And now, another report to the American people. In your family's interest, listen to these findings recently released by the United States Testing Company, Incorporated.
After thorough and impartial tests, Pepsi-Cola proved of highest purity. Pepsi-Cola has more quick food energy and value, ounce for ounce, than any other leading nationally known cola.
Yes, tested, compared against all other leading nationally known cola drinks, Pepsi-Cola won out. You get the best and twice as much in delicious Pepsi-Cola. And now to Counterspy.
Snowstorm sure comes in handy, huh, Jigger?
Yeah, Benny. Hey, which freight car is it?
It's one after the next.
Benny, I hope you got that railroad Bulls beat figured out right.
I always got everything figured out right, Squirt. Remember that.
Okay, sure, Benny, sure.
And what are you shaking in your pants about?
I'm just a little scared. Look, it's the kid's first job, Benny.
Who's asking you an opinion, Jigger?
What? Nobody, Benny.
And keep your trap shut. Okay, here we are.
You take the chisel, Jigger.
Right.
Squirt, you the hammer.
Yeah.
Use the burlap over it to keep it quiet.
All right, Benny.
Pry up the lock. I'll get on there with the crowbar. It's starting to give. A couple more whacks will do it.
Okay, Benny. All yours.
Right. I'll have this lock off and nothing flat. Okay. Push the door back. Let's get in there.
Okay.
Give me the flashlight, Jigger.
Here you are, Benny.
Them's the crates. I will see if they got those fancy precision tools in them like I was tipped off. You hold down the end of the crate, Squirt. Jigger will pry up the top. Right, Jigger.
Right, Benny.
There they are. A whole mess of super-duper tools.
Boy, should bring us a couple of good bucks, huh, Benny?
Just like the man said. Got the gunny sack, Squirt?
Yeah, right here, Benny.
Okay, pass one to Jigger. You two get them filled up fast. I'll start on another crate.
Okay, kid, let's you and I make like Santa Claus.
Hold it.
What's the matter? Shut up.
I heard somebody outside. Like somebody walking in the snow. Nah, I guess it was nothing.
Come here, Jiggy. Let go of my leg. Let go. Jiggy, what are we going to do?
You're coming with me out of here.
Fat chance of that, copper.
You crazy kid. Put that knife down.
Sure, copper. I'll put it down. I'll put it down, and you... Benny? Jigger? Over here behind the hallway stairs, Squirt.
Where you been, Squirt?
My mom and Papa right there in the parlor. Let's go downstairs.
Okay.
Benny wants to know where you've been for the last 3 days, Squirt.
Why didn't you show up the next morning like you were supposed to? Don't you want your cut on those tools, Squirt?
No, Benny. Why not?
Shut your face, Jigger. I'm handling this.
I'm afraid, Benny. I don't want to do anything like that again.
What's to be afraid of? I got rid of the merchandise. Everybody forgot about that railroad dick getting knocked off.
Just the same, Benny.
Just the same, you ain't pulling out.
But Benny, look,
You're staying in, you understand?
Benny.
You're in till I say you can pull out.
Benny, please, no more.
No more. I'm going to slap that face of yours around so I make sure you know what I'm talking about.
That's enough of that.
See the idea? We were just standing...
Come with me. You only has 2 kids with you. Let's go.
Well, where are we going?
You're going to headquarters.
And this is headquarters, Benny. How do you like it? No clippers in the back, Muggsy.
Yeah, Mr. Laredo, sure.
Well, I asked you kids how you liked
It's okay, Miss Laredo. It's real okay.
Gee, your own barber chair and everything.
Yeah. Hey, who's the silent kid?
Him? That's Squirt.
Maybe Squirt ain't impressed.
Sure he is. Ain't you, Squirt? Ain't you?
Yeah, sure.
So you all think a lot of Slick Laredo's headquarters, huh? Well, you should. A lot of business goes on in this office. Big business. I guess you kids thought it was the cops when I had you picked up, huh?
Yeah, you had me fooled, Mr. Laredo.
Yeah, and scared?
I ain't ever scared. Of nothing.
Tough kid, huh?
I get along.
I like a kid who's got guts. Just like I was when I was a greenhorn. How much Joe give you for the tools, Benny?
Tools, Mr. Laredo? I don't know what you're getting at.
Smart mouth, too. Kid's okay, eh, Muggsy?
Yeah, boss, okay.
Now, look, Benny, I know you took the tools to the fence. Joe told me all about it. Tough about that railroad bull, huh? Little off the top, Muggsy.
Yeah, boss, sure.
I had my eye on you and Jigger here for a long time.
Hey, Benny, he's been watching us.
Benny, how would you and Jigger and Squirt like to come in with me?
Come in with you, Mr. Laredo?
It's slick to you, Benny.
Well, Slick? What's your proposition?
Hey, Muggsy, how do you like this kid? Pretty sharp, huh?
Yeah, boss, sure.
The proposition, Benny, is drawing account on 10% of all you take. No penny ante stuff like freight yard hauls either. I set the deals up for you, and I protect you.
Gee, Benny, that sounds swell to me. What do you think, Squirt?
Who asked you two characters for an opinion?
Well, Benny?
Okay, Slick. It's a deal. Now, about that 10%.
What about it?
I like to look forward to promotions.
Oh, real sharp kid, huh? We'll talk about promotions after your first job. It's set for Tuesday night, bookie joint over on 3rd Avenue. I'll line it out with you tomorrow, okay?
It's okay with me.
And, Benny.
Yeah, Slick?
Get rid of that knife you carry. You're in the big time now. I got a special gun for you. Okay, Muggsy, go easy on the sideburns, huh?
Yeah, boss, sure.
From David Harding, Counterspy Headquarters, Washington, to Commissioner of Police Robert Denfield, Bay City. Replying to your recent request for assistance in regard to rise of juvenile delinquency in your city, my assistant Harry Peters and I will arrive your city tomorrow morning. We'll meet you at headquarters.
Right down this corridor, Mr. Harding. We've turned the whole sub-basement of our police headquarters here into a special line-up room for juvenile cases.
See, Commissioner Denfield. To separate them from the older and hardened criminals, huh?
Yes. I got the idea from one of your Counterspy bulletins. I asked you to come down here, Mr. Harding, so you could see firsthand this city's juvenile delinquency problem.
Well, that's why we're on this tour, Commissioner Denfield. See what the Counterspies can do to help.
Oh, here we are. We can sit right here in the back of the room. All right, Myers, you may begin. Mr. Harding, I think you'll be shocked by the youthfulness of our offenders.
Well, after the conditions I've seen in other cities, Commissioner, I'm a little beyond being shocked.
Oh, there go the lights down. They're ready to begin.
James Valenti, alias Joe Valley, alias the Sheriff. Age 18, 5 feet 8 inches, 138 pounds. Charged with unlawful entry. Previous offenses: assault, carrying arms without a permit, breaking and entering. Step down.
He started at 15, Mr. Harding.
A running start, I'd say, Commissioner.
Sidney Ratter, alias Sullen Sam, alias Nuts. Age 19, 5 feet 11, 172 pounds. Charged with felonious assault. Previous offenses: assault, battery, carrying concealed weapons. Step down.
19 years old.
Wait till you hear about the next one, Mr. Harding.
Anthony Romano, age 17, 5 feet 7 inches, 153 pounds. Held for arraignment and first-degree murder charge. Step down.
Killer at 17.
As a result of gang vengeance, Mr. Harding. Have you seen enough?
Yes, plenty.
Hold it, Myers.
All right, Commissioner.
Mr. Harding, some days we get as many as 30 juvenile offenders.
Well, Commissioner, I've seen cities where the rate was even higher. But in many cases, we've been able to effect a marked decrease. However, it's not a thing you lick overnight.
Oh, I know that, Mr. Harding. And I know, too, the fine work you're accomplishing with your junior Counterspy organization. I hope you can help us.
Well, we'll do all we can. I'd better get upstairs to my assistant, Harry Peters. He should be about finished going through your files. Well, Peter, come up with anything?
Dave, looks as if you're right again.
You mean you found a likely Fagin in the files?
I've got a line on one rackets boy in this town who sure looks as if he's it.
Now, go ahead.
I'll read you my notes. Salvador Laredo, nicknamed Slick, because he's fastidious about his dress and appearance. 31 years old, 12 arrests, no convictions.
I can see where the Slick fits for other reasons.
Over half of his arrests were for contributing to delinquency of minors, such as sale of lottery tickets, working numbers racket, gambling and betting in pool halls and bowling alleys.
Anything else on him, Peter?
Nothing except that he was a former dead-end kid who worked his way to the criminal top.
I'm afraid that's much more than nothing, Peter.
What do you mean, Dave?
Well, I mean that kids who get off on the wrong foot are easily attracted to a racketeer like Laredo.
Yes, I didn't know what you were driving at. Kids with the wrong slant would make an idol of a character like that. Do anything for him.
So we have the same old problem, trying to make those boys understand that it's unhealthy to respect a lawbreaker. Well, Peters, we'll put him under 24-hour surveillance. We'll keep at it until Slick finds out he's not as slick as he thinks he is. What time is it, Chicken?
2 minutes to go, Benny. Hey, Benny, what if a cop sees you in the alley?
You going chicken on me again, Squirt?
No, Benny. Just the way things are now with us working for Slick Laredo, and you and I with a gun and all. Look, Benny, what if you have to use that gun?
So I know how to use it. Even better than a knife. And if you ever try anything funny, Squirt, I'll show you what I mean.
Hey, Benny, can we move in now, huh?
No. Slick said the bookie in that shop there don't finish counting his take till 2 a.m. Slick said to hit him right on the dot at 2. That's when we're moving in.
Hey, Benny.
What is it?
There's somebody down there, in the area alley.
I don't see nobody.
I'm sure. I saw something move.
It's just a catch, you dumb cluck. Ought to paste your face into giving us the jumps.
It's 2 o'clock, Benny.
Okay, let's go. All right, here's the back door. Now you stay behind me when he opens the door, Jacob. Remember the code knock?
Yeah. 3 long and 2 short.
Mm-hmm. Now you, Squirt, you stick right here. Keep your eye peeled.
Yeah? What do you want?
It's a stick-up, pal.
Huh?
Reach and keep him there.
Why, you crummy little punk.
Get him up like I said, or I'll blow your stupid brains right out of that fat face. Up! All right, now back up. Come on, Jacob. Close the door.
Right.
All right, where's the bundle, fat face?
Bundle?
The dough to take for today. Where is it?
Okay. Over there in the safe.
So go on, open it.
Sure.
You're being too easy, fat face. If you're thinking of pulling a fast one, forget it.
I've seen too many trigger-happy kids like you to try anything fast. I know better than to...
Hey, stand up that gun!
Give me that gun or I'll break your arm right off.
Yeah, fat face, I'll give it to you. Right now.
Let's get out of here, Benny, when I'm finished. All right, fat face, you asked for it.
No, don't, not again.
So I'm giving it to you. I'm giving it to you if I could.
In a moment, back to Counterspy, presented by delicious Pepsi-Cola. Have you heard about those tests by that famous laboratory? Have you heard the latest news in the Pepsi-Cola story?
Yes, there's big news about Pepsi. The cola you've always known was most delicious. The cola you've always known was best value is now shown to be the cola of proven highest quality. That's right. The U.S. Testing Company Incorporated reports you get more quick food energy ounce for ounce in delicious Pepsi-Cola than any other nationally known leading cola drink.
Yes, your Pepsi is really tops. Taste the tops, is the tops, and gives the most. So go ahead, enjoy that extra zing and bounce delicious Pepsi gives you. Insist on it wherever you may be. When you stop at the fountain, make sure you say, Pepsi, please. When you stop at a stand, make sure you say, Pepsi, please. And at the store, get Pepsi in the money-saving carton of 6 big 12-ounce bottles. Pepsi 6 bottles serve 12 refreshing glassfuls, twice as much. So save money and get the best. Come on, sing the Pepsi song with us.
Pepsi-Cola, hit the spot. 2 full glasses, that's a lot. Twice as much and better, too. Pepsi-Cola is the drink for you. Delicious Pepsi-Cola. Delicious Pepsi-Cola. Delicious Pepsi-Cola. Delicious Pepsi-Cola.
And now, back to Counterspy.
Counterspy Field Office to Peters, Special Squad Car X3.
Peters, go ahead, Dave.
What's your location, Peters?
Wentworth Avenue between 5th and 6th. Cruising.
Well, Peters, I just got a call from Commissioner Denfield about Slick Laredo.
I'll meet you at the corner of 11th and Millwood. Get there as fast as you can.
Will do, Chief.
Peters, the name of the murdered bookie is Johnny Sandusky. That mean anything to you?
Yes, Dave. Sandusky's name was on one of those Laredo reports I turned into you. He was one of Slick Laredo's biggest rivals in this town.
So was Vince Fresno, until he was mysteriously murdered 2 months ago.
Get the picture, Peters? How can you miss it? Laredo's out to consolidate its position as top racket boy.
That's it. We know from our surveillance reports on Laredo that he wasn't within 5 miles of the store where the murder took place early this morning. So the question is, who does Laredo's dirty work?
You think it might be some kid, Dave?
Well, that's possible, in view of the fact that Slick Laredo is notorious for exploiting minors.
What's your plan, Chief?
Well, an old but reliable one, to capitalize on criminal pattern. You can almost be sure that Laredo isn't going to stop eliminating his competition until he can wear his crown without worry.
Well, according to our reports, Laredo still has 2 big rivals outstanding. Georgie Troy and Ken Easton.
Yes. So I've asked Commissioner Denfield not to have Laredo picked up for questioning in Sandusky's murder.
I didn't think he got away with it,
I have an idea it'll encourage him to proceed with his elimination tournament with a little less caution.
In other words, Dave, build up his ego.
That's right, Peters. Build it up for the big letdown.
Benny, you shouldn't call me. You're at the house.
Squirt, me and Jigger are still waiting for you down at the candy store. What's the stall for?
My mom's right in the next room. I can't talk now.
You don't have to talk. I'll do the talking. Slick Laredo's expecting us over at his headquarters. And Slick's like me. He don't like to be kept waiting.
Yeah, but Benny, I don't feel so good.
You'll feel a lot worse if I have to come there and get you.
No, Benny, please. Don't do that.
Okay, then, Squirt. You got just 5 minutes to get here.
Feels good, Woodsy. Keep working on that shoulder a little.
Yeah, boss. Sure.
Great thing to rub down, Benny. Keeps you right in the paint.
Slick, you said we were going to talk business.
I'm the one guy who can mix business with pleasure. That right, Muggsy?
Yeah, boss. Sure.
Some vocabulary Muggsy's got, huh, Benny? But Muggsy ain't as dumb as he sounds. The less you talk, the less trouble you get into. Hey, Muggsy?
Yeah, boss. Sure.
Benny, I had Jigger and Squirt wait outside because I wanted to talk to you alone. I had one of my smokes on the table there. I got him special blended for me.
No, thanks. Slick, you still haven't said anything about our 10% for the job the other night.
10%? What 10% are you talking about?
The 10 you What are you trying to pull?
I changed my mind about the 10%.
The deal was 10%.
That was the deal. Now I got another.
Look, there was some trouble getting that dough. You know, I had to knock Sandusky off.
That's the way things go sometimes. Well, turn over so you can work on the other side, Muggsy.
Yeah, boss, sure.
Look, Slick, me and my boys delivered.
Sure you delivered. I like the way you did it.
Well, then why cut us down?
Who said I was cutting you down? I'm upping the percentage.
What?
To 25, Benny. What do you say to that?
25. Hey, that's okay.
Hey, what's the catch?
You like this Benny, huh, Muggsy? On his toes, always looking for the angle, huh? Got what it takes, huh?
Yeah, boss, sure.
No catch, Benny. I like the way you operate. You got guts, know what to do when it's got to be done.
That's right, Slick. I'm no slouch.
Now, Benny, I got another job for you. Call Jigger and Squirt in here, and I'll line the proposition out.
Dave, Agent Braden just radioed his report to our patrol point.
Any activity at Ken Easton's bookie shop, Peters?
Nothing so far, Dave. Report says it's quiet as a mouse over there.
All right, Peters, but I'm willing to bet a good part of my pension that there will be activity soon, either at Easton's or Georgie Troy's place across the street.
I'm beginning to fall asleep on my
feet, Dave.
Yeah. Little Donnie and myself, Peter. Almost 2 a.m.
Well, looks like tonight's not the night, Dave. You may just as well...
I got the doorway, Peter.
What? What's up?
That boy, coming out of the alley across the street, under that Pepsi-Cola sign. See him?
Yeah. The alley right next to Troy's place.
There he goes back in again.
Must be the lookout.
Let's go, Peter. We'll grab him first.
Let go, will you? Let go of me.
You're staying right here, youngster.
I didn't do anything.
You whistled when you saw us coming. You gave your friends the signal to make a run for it.
No, I didn't, mister. I was just whistling because
You got away, Mr. Harding. Ducked over a back fence.
All right, Peters. We'll take this one back to the car. Now, look, Squirt. Telling me the truth will only do you good.
Please, Mr. Harding, I told you what I was doing in that alley.
Mr. Harding said the truth, Squirt.
I know quite a bit about boys, Squirt. I've dealt with all kinds. I can tell pretty quickly just what kind of a person a boy is at heart. You're frightened. That's why you're not telling me the truth. And it's not because you're afraid of me. It's someone else.
Mr. Harding, let me alone, will you?
You're protecting someone else, not because you like him, but because you fear him.
He's got nothing to fear now, Squirt.
He'll kill me if I talk. I know he'll kill me.
Whoever it is, Squirt, I promise you he'll never get the chance.
Is it Slick Laredo?
Slick? How did you know we were...
Then it is Laredo.
No, he's not the one I'm scared of.
But you have been working for Laredo.
Come on, Squirt, answer. It is Laredo, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, Mr. Harding. We were working for Laredo.
I promise you, Squirt, you have everything to gain if you'll tell us the whole story.
All right, Mr. Harding. I'll tell you everything.
What'd you come back here for, Benny? You're supposed to follow orders.
I want to talk to you, Slick.
So talk. Alone. Vamoose, Muggsy.
Yeah, boss, sure.
So now we're alone, Benny.
I want to talk to you about the job tonight. The job we didn't finish pulling.
Didn't finish?
Because we didn't get a chance.
What are you driving at?
The cops are outside Georgie Troy's place.
What?
They grabbed Squirt. Jigger and me lammed over a fence just in time.
Will Squirt talk?
Sure he'll open. Squirt's yellow from top to bottom.
Well, we better blow out of town.
You're staying right here, Slick.
What? Hey, what's the idea of that?
I'm giving this gun back to you, Slick.
Back?
Right in that sneaky face of yours.
Hey, what's the matter with you? Crazy or something?
Yeah, like a fox. Before I beat it out of Georgie Troy's place, he tipped me off to your angle, Slick.
Angle? I ain't got any angle.
You didn't care about the dough we got for you on the halls. That's why you gave us 25%. All you cared about was getting the competition out of the way.
You can't believe Troy. He'd tell you anything.
You were just using me to torpedo Sandusky and Troy. The next haul was to be set up at 10 Easton's joint, wasn't it, Slick? Easton was to be next, huh? And then when I got rid of Easton for you, I'd get the kiss off.
Ah, Benny, you got it all wrong. I wouldn't do a thing like that to you.
You're a stinking liar. I'm going to give you the same kind of a break you were going to give me. I'll give you...
Nice work, Muggsy.
Yeah, boss, sure.
Good thing I had that buzzer signal button on the side of my desk. Imagine a little punk like that trying to outsmart Slick Laredo.
What do we do about him, boss?
It's going to give me a special pleasure to take care of him right now. Hand me his gun.
Here you are.
Goodbye, Benny.
Drop that gun, Laredo.
Boss.
Drop it, or my next shot will be your finish.
Okay. Don't shoot again.
Keep the other one covered, Peter.
Got it, Mr. Harding.
Harding.
That's right, Laredo.
How's Benny, Peter?
Just a crack on the head. He'll be coming around any minute, Chief.
All right, Peter. While we're waiting, we'll explain to Slick Laredo just how bad an investment young hoodlums can be.
Well, that takes care of the Hoodlum's hero. Now let's take care of the refreshments. Bring on those big Pepsis and have delicious Pepsi-Cola all around. Tastes good. You just can't match Pepsi's fresh, tangy flavor. And there's plenty for two of you in Pepsi's big 12-ounce bottles. Get Pepsi by the carton. It's 6 bottles but 12 drinks. So save all that money and enjoy that extra zing and bounce delicious Pepsi gives you. Remember, Pepsi's proven highest quality, yet it gives you twice as much.
Pepsi-Cola is a spot. 2 full glasses, that's a lot. Twice as much and better, too. Pepsi-Cola is a drink for you. Delicious Pepsi-Cola. Delicious Pepsi-Cola. Delicious Pepsi-Cola. Delicious Pepsi-Cola.
Tune in every Tuesday and Thursday, same time, same station, to Counterspy. Listen on Tuesday for the exciting Case of the Fabulous Formula.
The discovery of a new defense secret and the brutal liquidation of the inventor sent your counterspies on a trail of violent death. The stakes, an important government secret. The enemy, one of the strangest we have ever faced. Listen on Tuesday to
The Case of the Fabulous Formula on Counterspy. Tonight's Counterspy program originated in New York, was directed by Marks V. Loeb, dramatized by Edward Adamson, and featured Don McLaughlin and Mandel Kramer, with music by Jesse Crawford. This is Jay Jackson speaking. Counterspy is a Phillips H. Lord production for Pepsi-Cola. Enjoy some delicious Pepsi tonight.
An iron skull was their trademark. Their business was climbing walls, and it was all done on wheels at 70 miles an hour. But that was a cinch for the death cheaters until they felt murder and a feminine touch.
From the pen of Raymond Chandler, outstanding author of crime fiction, comes his most famous character in The Adventures of Philip Marlowe. Now, with Gerald Moore, starred as Philip Marlowe, we bring you tonight's exciting story, The Feminine Touch.
It was 5 minutes to 5 when I turned off Sunset Boulevard and drove between the 2 wrought iron gates set in a stone wall that hinted none too subtly at the exclusiveness of the Bel Air estates. I followed a gently curving street bordered by dignified rows of meticulously manicured palm trees as far as number 4412. There I turned onto a white driveway, moated over an acre of rigidly disciplined landscape to a house that could have doubled for Buckingham Palace, where I ground to a soft stop and got out. Bel Air was the soul of peace and serenity until I started across the drive to the front door. A motorcycle, jet-propelled by a black-haired lunatic in a leather jacket with a blonde beauty riding behind him. The handlebar missed goring me by inches. I picked myself up, mumbled a few choice words, and went on to the door. I followed a butler through the house to an aviary in the rear, where my client, Mr. Baldwin Granville, putted with a flock of exotic birds in a big wire cage. He looked right at home, a penguin in sport clothes, with the yellow, staring eyes of an owl.
Come in, Marlowe, but watch the gate. The birds are all upset. Did you hear that mechanical outburst a moment ago?
Heard? I was almost run over by it. A jerk and a batty blonde dame on a motorcycle. Who were they?
The driver was no doubt one Pepper Riggs, which is all I know about him. However, the batty blonde, as you put it, is my daughter, Adrian.
Oh, your daughter, huh?
Yes, 23 and already out of school 2 years. The best schools, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Still, it's been one crazy scrape after another. Now it's motorcycles and something even worse, I'm afraid. That's why I called you.
Now, look, Mr. Granville, I'm no truant officer. Have you or her mother tried simply talking it over with her?
We lost her mother in 33. And Adrian refuses flatly to discuss things with me. I've tried everything from bribery to threats.
How about trying to be a father?
I'm 20 years late for that. Always been too busy making money. Now I'm worried. I think she's infatuated with this Pepper Riggs.
Well, there isn't much I can do about that. If she wants to break her neck on a motorcycle, I can't do much about that either.
You can do something about this. It came to me in this morning's mail. Adrian hasn't seen it yet.
Oh? Keep your daughter out of our hair. Make her lay off Pepper Riggs, if you know what's good for her. I mean it, Lou Bryan. Who's Lou Bryan?
I have no idea. But Adrian's in danger, Marlowe.
Well, I'll do what I can. Got anything else to go on besides two names in the motorcycle crowd?
No, that's all. But, Marlowe, listen. It may sound strange to you, but everything I've worked for all my life means nothing to me now. I have finally realized that Adrian is all that really matters. Don't let me down.
Something close to grief glistened in the old man's yellow eyes. But he hardened up again while we settled the matter of my fee, $100. Then he hurried me on my way. I figured Pepper Riggs was a wild man, so my first step was a check-off of the L.A. dirt track circuit, a wild man's game, if ever there was one. The fourth stop I made paid off. A track manager told me that Pepper was a used-to-be bike racer, all right, but that he quit and was while working at the Redondo amusement pier as a wall climber. When I found out what that was, it made the dirt track routine sound about as dangerous as an old lady's quilting bee. It was 9:30 when I got out to the Redondo pier, wandered through the concessions until I found one with a corny label, the Wall of Death. It looked like a barrel, 30 feet in diameter and 20 feet high, with a grandstand over it and a picture poster in front listing hair-raising shows, 8, 10, and 12 p.m., featuring Pepper Riggs, the Death Cheater, with lovely Mickey North and smiling Lou Bryan, the one who had written the letter to my client. Whatever Adrian Granville was mixed up in, the answer was here. I walked around the big barrel to a shed in the rear. The light was on, so I went to work.
Hiya. Looking for somebody?
Yeah, you're Pepper Riggs, aren't you? My name's Marlowe of High Spot Magazine. I've got a feature lined up on your act. Spare a minute?
Sure. We can talk while I finish shaving. Shoot.
How fast do you travel around that wall?
Slip under 60 and you drop. It's no life for sissies, buddy. Any little thing goes wrong up there on the wall and it's curtains.
Figures. Is this your bike here?
Yeah, the one with my nameplate on it there.
Uh-huh. I see you carry a little iron skull tied to the handlebars. Kind of grim, isn't it?
It's my trademark, buddy. I've been knocked off the wall 7 times in the last 3 years and beat old Skullface every time.
No kidding. That makes for a nice, quiet future for your fiancée.
Fiancée?
Yeah, Miss Granville. Going to take her into the act with you?
Could be, buddy. Could be.
What do your partners think of that? The girl, Mickey North, and Lou Bryan, I mean. Is there going to be room for everybody?
You know something, pal? I don't think there is a magazine called High Spot.
Really? I better make a note of that.
Yeah. Adrian warned me your old man be sending a private eye around. So now that I've caught your act and it's corny, I've got a message for you. Lay off, because Adrian's old enough to know what she wants.
Okay. And I've got one for you, Screwball. See that she lives long enough to enjoy it.
Get out, you...
When he shoved me out the door, my first impulse was to shove back in again. But then I heard the spiel for the 10 o'clock show starting out in front, so I decided Pepper Riggs would keep. I walked around the drome to where a red-faced barker lashed the crowd with every known simile for danger as he whipped up excitement for the act. I stepped up close to listen.
55 miles per hour on an absolutely vertical wall. Just Hadley's Wall of Death. Don't miss it, folks. Show starts in 15 minutes. Come in and watch them cheat. Hey, Sam, take over for me, quick. Robert, you want thrills.
When the red-faced barker stopped, his eyes had been fixed on a little man in grimy overalls hurrying across the midway. He jumped down from the platform and ran after the little guy, so I pushed back through the crowd and followed him. The red-face caught up with the grimy overalls at a hot dog stand, grabbed him by one shoulder and spun him around.
Hey, what are you
doing?
Moon,
There?
I want to talk to you.
Oh.
Are you a motorcycle mechanic or a prima donna? Where you been?
I slept in, I guess, Mr. Hadley.
Yeah. You must have been real tired after last night.
Last night? Why, what do you mean?
Don't stall with me, Moon. I saw you coming out of the bike shed at 2:30 in the morning. What were you doing in there at that hour?
Going over the bikes. I'm sick and tired of taking the blame for Lou Bryan. He's holding back. He says it's because his bike ain't right, but that's not true. He's turned yellow, that's what, and I'll prove it, too.
Shut up. Keep that kind of talk to yourself.
Oh, but it's true. Pepper told him the same thing. Lou Bryan's lost his nerve, and he's holding back. Those bikes are identical. Same make and same model. They're both in tip-top shape. And I'm through taking the blame for a guy that's turned yellow.
What do you have, man? Want something, Jess? Yeah, a couple of coffees, Bud. You, mister?
Yeah, a hot dog. Nothing on it.
Yes, sir. Right up.
Now listen, Moon. You're a good mechanic. I don't want to fire you, but there's trouble cooking around my show, and I don't like it.
Here you are. Oh, thanks. Oh, sure there's going to be trouble. You're blaming me, but you ought to blame that dizzy blonde that Pepper's mixed up with. That Adrian Granville. She's the Hey, you, Big Ears.
Huh?
This is private conversation. What are you tuning in for?
Pass the mustard, little man, and keep your greasy thumb out of it. You got secrets, you ought to know better than to broadcast them.
Yeah. Thanks for the advice.
Yeah, go soak your head in it. Skip the coffee, Bert. Your place is crawling. So long, Big Ears.
I watched Jess Hadley and Moon walk away, and then I went back to the wall of death, bought a ticket, and climbed the stairs to the gallery at the top of the 30-foot motordrome. The house lights were on, but in the half-darkness at the bottom of the big bowl, I saw 3 motorcycles in the open trap door. The gallery was nearly full. It only took one glance around the ring of faces at the lip of the bowl to spot her. She had insolent eyes and wide, soft, red mouth, and her hair tumbled in loose, blonde waves over the shoulders of a shimmering white silk shirt, very wide open at her throat. I moved up beside her and leaned on the rail.
Why don't you go home, Sherlock? I can't use a watchdog.
You flatter yourself, Adrian. I'm here only to case a setup. If it includes your broken neck, that's just another item in my report.
Is that right? Well, you're pretty, so I'll make it real easy for you. The setup's simply this. I like to go fast. Motorcycles do that for me. So does Pepper Ray. That satisfy you?
Not quite. You got the curves, baby, but somebody else has the angles.
Meaning what?
Well, these professionals might resent an amateur moving in.
What makes you think I'm an amateur, Mr. Marlowe? I'll compete with dear little Mickey North on any basis, curves or angles. I got Pepper, didn't I? Now I'll have her spot in the show, if I want.
How does all this set with Lou Bryan?
Lou's excess baggage, but strictly. Pepper's been carrying the whole show for weeks. Oh, there go the house lights. So it's been nice, Sherlock, but that makes it time to run along, doesn't it?
No, I think I'll stick around, honey, whether you like it or not.
Suit yourself. But don't stick too close. You might get run over.
When a floodlight over the center of the drome flashed on and filled the deep bowl with a dead white glare, the performers climbed through the trapdoor in the bottom, closed it behind them, and mounted their bikes. With the first roar of the motors, Adrian gripped the railing and stared down, her eyes glistening with fascination.
And now, Jess Hadley presents the Just Cheaters in a hair-raising exhibition of riding skill, performed at 70 miles an hour on a vertical wall. Starring Pepper Ray, with lovely Mickey North and smiling Lou Bryan.
It was Lou Bryan who led off, starting slowly at first, around and around the sloping base of the bowl. Pepper Riggs watched him for a moment, then looked up, waved at Adrian, and grinned, while Mickey North flashed straight ahead. There was no smile on smiling Lou Bryan's face either as he whirled faster and faster around the drome. The bowl began to tremble with every revolution as the speeding motorcycles raced over the boards and rose higher and higher on the vertical wall until finally it was only 5 feet from the rim. Then suddenly from somewhere a black smear trailed out on the white under the tires. A smear that grew with every turn. It was oil. A second later it happened. The back wheel skidded. The bike squirmed out of Lou Bryan's control like it was something alive. And then it fell.
Well, go along, folks. Come on, break it up.
Lou Bryan was dead long before they got him through the trapdoor and into the ambulance. And watching him fall had put a freeze on my mind that took 20 minutes thawing out. But when the fundamentals of addition went to work again, I started looking around, and just in time to see Moon, the mechanic, barreling a 1930 Flivver for all it was worth, out of the parking lot and heading for the highway, lights out. I ran to my car, piled in to take after him, when something long and yellow smashed into my bumper.
Can't you see where you're going?
You took the words right out of my mouth, Adrian. You timed it perfectly, didn't you?
Timed what perfectly?
That block. So Moon, your grease monkey assistant, could put a few miles behind it.
Adrian, what happened?
Marlowe.
Yeah. Don't worry, Riggs. Adrian here did a lovely job. Our bumpers are braided.
What? You know, I'm getting a little sick of you, Marlowe.
You're liable to get sick of Speedy. Because I'm going to find out exactly why Lou Bryan died tonight, and you're going to answer some questions.
He died because the oil line broke.
Yeah, it happens all the time to wall climbers. It was a tough break, that's all.
Oh, sure. Now, look. Just in case you two didn't know, Lou Bryan objected to you, Adrian. So much so, in fact, that he wrote a letter to your father threatening to rough you up if you didn't lay off. From where I sit, somebody beat him to the punch. Guess who?
Listen, Marlowe, you're running off at the mouth. If you got something to say it. Right out, like a big boy.
Okay. Riggs, Lou Bryan's death was no accident. It was cold, premeditated murder. Tie that on your handlebars, death cheater.
In just a moment, the second act of Philip Marlowe. But first, the greatest jackpot in the history of radio, $54,000 in prizes and cash, awaits the CBS listener who can solve the mystery of the Phantom Voice on our Saturday night Sing It Again show. $25,000 may be yours in solid cash, plus $29,000 in marvelous prizes. There's also a host of splendid smaller prizes waiting for you listeners who can crack the riddle song. So be around for Sing It Again tonight when it comes to you for a full hour on most of these same CBS network stations. Now, with our star, Gerald Moore, we return to the second act of Philip Marlowe and tonight's story, The Feminine Touch.
I turned without another word and walked away slowly until I was out of sight. Then I ran for the drome on the off chance that I could find Mickey North and a lead on Moon. I found her alone and on a bench in an almost dark, out-of-the-way corner of an amusement pier, half watching a couple of hungry seagulls who didn't know when it was time to go to bed circle overhead. I introduced myself and got around to what was fast becoming my only point, the hunch that Lou Bryan's crack-up was no accident.
I can't believe that, Marlowe.
Why not, Mickey? It adds. Lou Bryan figured Adrian was breaking up a great act. Figured she'd driven a wedge between him and Pepper. And, Pepper and you.
Oh, yeah, but that's not reason for Adrian or Pepper to kill Lou, Marlowe.
Oh, by its lonesome, no. But there was more, Mickey. Lou Bryan didn't intend to take all this lying down. For one thing, he sent a threatening letter to Adrian's father to keep her away.
Then, Marlowe, you're saying that Adrian...
And Pepper Riggs scheduled an accident for Lou Bryan. And then, Mickey, there's Moon. You know, he shoved off without so much as now be back in a minute right after Lou cracked up. Tell me, Mickey, do you have any idea where Moon could have been heading? He was pointing away from L.A.
No, I don't. Except, of course, his own place. He has a little shack on Ocean Avenue, number 41, over in the oil field. But look, Marlowe, maybe Moon's responsible for everything. He and Lou didn't get along, you know.
Yes, I've heard. Also, Mickey, I've heard that Moon was around the bikes unusually late last night.
What? Moon around... Marlowe, it must have been Moon then, alone. Sure, what's the matter with me? Pepper wouldn't do a thing like that. He's too good, too decent and nice.
Still love him, don't you, Mickey?
No, I don't. He means nothing, Marlowe.
All right, honey. Let's call it a tie for the moment. It's Moon alone or the triumvirate Moon, Riggs, and Adrian Granville, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else had any reason to kill Lou, if you're sure that's what happened. Are you, Marlowe? Dead sure?
Just about. Ask me again, honey, after I've checked the fireside at number 41 Ocean Avenue. By then I may know more. When I got back to my car, Adrian's convertible was gone. And the pleading that had been my right fender, which said that she'd left in a hurry, cost me 10 minutes of stress and strain before my front wheels would turn in either direction without chewing rubber. Then I was another 10 getting to the intersection of US 101 and Ocean Avenue, which turned out to be a paved semicircle of grime, twisting in between a dozen nodding oil well pumps that had never heard of the 8-hour day. I got out of my car and started to move quietly toward the sagging collection of scrap lumber, unpainted and unpleasant. That was number 41. When the sudden splash of a pair of headlights sweeping my way fast sent me sprawling for cover without so much as a reason why. I was glad that I had, because it was yellow, long, and convertible, and behind the wheel and alone, Miss Adrian Granville. I took that as my cue to stop sleuthing and start worrying about a guy named Moon. I moved up to his shack in a hurry. When it showed no light and no answer to my loud knock, I closed one hand tight around the .38 in my pocket and the other over the knob on the door, which wasn't locked. Inside, there was only shabby furniture of escad linoleum, and in the middle of the wall opposite me, another door half open. I started for it, and what I could almost feel was going to be the too quiet form of the elusive mechanic. And the sound behind me that was not the work of the wind brought me to a dead stop.
Move 1 inch, mister, and I'll kill you.
And to think I was worrying about your health.
You shouldn't have bothered. I feel fine. But you won't if there's any monkey business. I'll drop your gun. Come on, fast! That's better. Now, what are you doing here?
Wondering why you were dumb enough to let that Granville brat talk you into murdering Lou Bryan for a price?
You're off your rocker, Phil. I didn't drop Bryan. I got no money from the baby either, only Gab. Gab that kept me from packing and getting out of here.
That's a lie. I've got a photostat of a check for $10,000 that's made out to you and signed by Adrian Granville. Turn on a light, Buster. Look for yourself.
Check for $10,000?
Yeah.
I don't figure how my name could get out. Hey, this ain't no check.
Oh, my mistake.
Here, it is, and more. Okay.
Come on, get up.
Again. I'll tell you the truth, honest.
We'll see. First verse. If you didn't kill Bryan, why are you running?
Because Lou and I didn't get along, and Jess Hadley knows that I was around the bikes last night.
So what?
Well, so sometimes people start putting things together too fast. It gets other people in trouble. I know it's happened to me before. 5 years once on a lousy frame.
How unfortunate.
Yeah, but
what about Adrian Granville? What's she want with you, Moon?
I don't know, unless she belongs to the lady's handkerchief I found near the bikes last night.
Did you say it was hers?
We didn't get that far. She ran off when we heard your car turn off from the highway. That's how come I got the drop on you.
That figures. But what doesn't figure, Moon, is why you're still holding back.
Well,
so maybe we ought to bounce the mechanic around some more, huh? What do you say?
No,
Moon,
please.
come on, do we keep this up?
Please.
You're going to talk? Talk!
No, please.
All right.
Quit, will you let me alone? I'll tell you everything. Lou was always beefing at me. Whenever Pepper called him yellow for not riding right, he took it out on me. Said I didn't keep his bike in shape. So I decided to do...
So what? What's the matter?
Outside. There, Marlowe. A gun. No!
When Moon grabbed at his chest with both hands, swung in a half arc, and pitched forward on his face, I yanked at the light cord in the middle of the room and then threw the door open. The only noise I heard was the starting roar of a motorcycle about 50 feet away. I forgot about being careful and ran out into the street and toward what was fast becoming an increasingly smaller silhouette of I couldn't say who. When I returned to the shack and found Moon dead, I ran for my car, filed in, and kept a heavy foot on the gas until I was back at the amusement pier where I figured I might find the team of Granville and Riggs standing around like nothing had happened. When I got there, I found just that. Out on the pier was Miss Moneybags herself, walking slowly away from Pepper and Mickey and toward the hot dog stand. When I was next to her and about ready to grab on and start yelling cop, I saw something else. Something that didn't sink in right away. It was a tiny iron skull on an iron chain, swinging from the gold charm bracelet she wore on her right wrist.
If you're taking inventory, Marlowe, make it fast, will you? The next show starts in a couple of minutes, and I'm going on in Lou's place, and I don't have...
That trinket there on your wrist, Adrian, it's a miniature of the one Pepper has on the handlebars of his bike, right?
Right. It's his trademark. But what about it? Does that hang all of it?
No, it just hangs one of us, if I'm right. Goodbye. It was only a hunch, and a screwy one at that, but as I ran past Mickey and Pepper, who stared at me like my nose was on fire, and headed for the shop out in the back where I knew I could find the bike that Lou had been killed on, I gave myself a 50-50 chance of being right. But when I was inside the place and next to the twisted jumble of steel that had once been a motorcycle, the odds jumped from there to sure thing. Because when I passed my fingers over the chrome handlebars, I found that they were not smooth all the way. In the next second, I knew more. I was not alone. I jumped from the bike, reached for my gun, and wheeled around the wrong way. Oh! When I started back for this world, there were only two things in it. One, a sharp, searing pain the length of the right side of my face, and the other, the crazy thought that since I was still alive, I had to get to the drome and stop Adrian Granville before murder happened again. And around to the front where I saw that the rider's trapdoor entrance was already closed and that the act was about to begin. And as I heard the motors roar and a voice announced that Adrian and Mickey were going to ride together, I spotted Jess Hadley at the top of the stairs that led onto the spectators' balcony. I took the dozen steps up to him two at a time, and as the house lights faded and the floods over the riders came up, I grabbed him and shouted that we had to stop the act while the bikes were still only getting underway, or death would get star billing again.
What are you talking about, Marlowe?
Murder, Hadley! How can we stop those bikes?
I don't know, Marlowe. They can't hear a thing down there.
Well, it'll have to be something they can see. Get to the house lights, Hadley, and turn them up. I'm going to shoot out the overhead floods.
No, Marlowe. You pile the girls up.
Get going, Hadley. I'm going to shoot.
No, Marlowe. No!
Dr. Richard Reese reports in surgery.
Well, Marlowe, before she blacked out, the police say Mickey admitted wanting to get Pepper because she was crazy jealous of Adrian. But they haven't got it straight yet about Moon's death and exactly why Lou was killed by mistake. How'd that go?
Well, it went two ways, Hadley. One, Mickey fixed Pepper's bike so that the oil line would give. Do you get it? Then Moon, convinced that Lou had gone yellow, switched the bikes to prove that Lou's constant complaint about the bikes was simply an alibi. But here's the joker. He switched right into a double play. Lou Bryan got killed instead of Pepper.
But then, after the crack-up, Moon knew that it should have happened to Pepper.
Oh, yeah, sure. But for a lot of reasons, he didn't want to stick around and talk it over. When he was about to tell me the truth, Mickey shot him.
Because if you knew the bikes were switched, you'd look for someone with reason to kill Pepper, not Lou.
Correct. And once I did know that, there was only Lou and Mickey. See, I picked Mickey because, for one thing, her motive was stronger. And for another, Moon found a lady's handkerchief near the bikes. So...
Marlowe, you come out here, please.
all right, Mr. Granville. See you, Hadley.
Yeah, Marlowe. Catch the act some night when we play it straight. Still a good show.
Well, I'm a lucky man, Marlowe. The doctor says Adrian's going to be fine in a few days. She wants to see you now, but it can only be for a moment, you know.
Frankly, Mr. Granville, a moment's about all I can take. I don't exactly like your daughter.
Now, Marlowe, none of that, please. The poor child's not well. Besides, she wants to apologize to you and give you my check for $100. Now, go on, boy. Go on. She's calling for you.
Okay. Hello.
Marlowe, I want to ask you a question. And, of course, apologize. I'm sorry.
What's the question?
The iron skull on my bracelet. What did it mean to you?
Oh. Well, it was a reminder that Pepper had one dangling from the handlebars of his bike. And that if Moon had switched bikes, which was a wild thought at the time, that which was called Lou's bike would have a worn spot on the chrome handlebars where the iron chain had rubbed. And it did. Now my turn. You told Pepper, and in particular Mickey, that I was all excited about something, didn't you?
Yes. Why do you ask, Bill?
Because I was wondering how Mickey knew where I was so that she could come down and play Crown the private detective.
Oh, Phil, she could have killed you.
Yes. But then when she didn't, I could figure that she'd given up and only wanted time.
To crash her motorcycle into mine when we were high on the wall. Is that it?
Yeah, that's it, all the way around. Now, if you please, my check and goodbye.
Check?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Here it is. And for all that you've done for me.
Hey, cut it out. You're supposed to be sick, Adrian. Get back in bed.
Oh, Marlowe, I'm not any sicker than you are. That's just to keep Daddy from blowing his top. Now, come here, silly. I'm all right.
You sure?
I'm positive. Phil.
That's all I wanted to know. Now, across my knee. Your daddy should have gotten around to this a long time ago. I kept swatting her where I figured it would do the most good. Until Daddy, 2 doctors, and a nurse came in, and then I recommended that my client consult a child psychologist for his daughter and a full-grown one for himself, and I left. But by the time I was outside, I'd cooled off some. And it was then that I remembered I'd carelessly shoved the $100 check, which belonged in my wallet, into a side pocket. When I took it out and unfolded it, I saw that it was all in order. Names and numbers correct. But then, as I started to put it away, I saw something else. On the back and scribbled in pencil, P.S.
Working with a private detective sounds like much more fun than motorcycles. I'll be at your office first thing Monday morning.
Signed, Adrian. I turned around and started back to the hospital. This was not going to be.
The Adventures of Philip Marlowe, created by Raymond Chandler, star Gerald Moore, and are produced and directed by Norman McDonald. Script is by Mel Dinelli, Robert Mitchell, and Gene Levitt. Featured in the cast were Barbara Eiler, Ted Von Eltz, David Ellis, Virginia Gregg, Wilms Herbert, Paul Dubov, and Peter Prouse. The special music is by Richard O'Runt. sure and be with us again next week when Philip Marlowe says...
It was only a gambler's marker. A promise to pay worth $1,000. And I was hired to find it. Yeah, that sounded easy. Until I realized that it meant the whole future to two men. Freedom to a third, and death to the girl in the cottage.
Sunday will be Mother's Day, and the boy with the neighbor's prize rose in his lapel and a box of cigars under his arm will be Mrs. Benny's little boy, Jack, ready for his idea of a proper Mother's Day celebration. For an unusually hilarious Mother's Day session with America's only 39-year-old child prodigy, hear the Jack Benny Show, Sunday, on all of these same CBS network stations. This is Roy Rowan speaking. Now, stay tuned for Gangbusters, which follows immediately over most of these stations. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Gangbusters! The Military Police Corps of the United States Army is celebrating its 12th anniversary. To tell us about tonight's Gangbusters case is the Chief of Operations and Enforcement Branch of the Office of the Provost Marshal General, Lieutenant Colonel Harley Moore, who supervises military police operations all over the world. And here, especially transcribed for Gangbusters, is Colonel Moore.
Thank you, and good evening, Gangbusters listeners. Throughout the world, the uniformed military policeman of the American Army has become a familiar sight. His trim uniform, bearing, and conduct are models for soldiers everywhere. His job in the Army compares to that of the uniformed civilian policeman: to maintain order, direct military traffic, guard important installations, prevent crime, and give assistance and service wherever he can. Within the Army's Military Police Corps, there are also specialists who perform functions similar to those of detectives of a city police force. These are called criminal investigators. It is their duty, under the supervision of their local provost marshal, to investigate crimes against Army personnel and property, and to apprehend fugitives in this connection. This case tonight shows in part the work of these important specialists, and it began one summer night a year or so ago on the outskirts of a small town in Iowa. A very low-grade carnival was playing a one-night stand to so-so business, and the talkers at the various attractions were straining their lungs, drumming up trade. The only fair-sized crowd was gathered in front of Gay Paris, the carnival's girly show, where the outside talker was making his pitch to the crowd.
On the inside of Gay Paris in a very few minutes. Yes, sir, the spectacle you've been witnessing outside here is only a sample, a very small sample of what's going to start on the inside of Gay Paris in just a few minutes. You're going to see the five most gorgeous, lovely girls west of Broadway and east of Hollywood. And there's still a few seats left inside the tent. You've been watching our little Josette give you that sample, our sweet little Josette. Take a bow, Josette.
Thank you.
Hey, you. Stay off the ballast stand, pal. This is for employees only. Right over here, the best quarter you ever spent. Mister, I said stay off the ballast stand.
I'm the sheriff of the county.
Oh, well, we run a clean extravaganza here, Sheriff. Pure and simple. Witness the show with my compliments.
I'm not here for that. I want to talk to you.
Well, I'm giving my pitch, Sheriff.
I want to talk to you anyway.
If you want to talk, Sheriff, you'll talk, but just a second, huh? All right, man. Josette will give you one more little segment of what you'll see inside the Gay Paris. Give him that segment, Josette, but not too much now. Hit it, Professor!
fellow named Hale working around here?
Hale? Not that I know of.
The big boss said you had a Ralph Hale over here.
Oh, Ralph. I never knew Hale was his other name. Yes, he's our electrician, handyman, stagehand, and general factotum around here.
Where is he now?
Well, I'll take you to him. Give me a minute to get this crowd inside, will you?
Okay, take your minute.
Well, I'll be right with you. Well, that's enough of a segment, Josette. That's enough now. Now, just take it easy, boys. You ain't seen nothing yet. Now, little Josette is going to go back inside the tent with the other girls, and she's going to get ready for the big performance of the gay Paris show that starts in just another moment. Now, go on, Josette.
See you inside, everybody.
Come on.
I'm on in 2 minutes. Ralph?
What?
Ralph, you better go.
I better go where? Will you get ready for the show,
Ralph,
Josie?
the sheriff is outside looking for you.
Sheriff? Well, thanks, baby.
No, not that way. He's coming in that way.
Well, how?
Through the girls' dressing tent this way.
Listen, help me, Josie. Help me get away from you.
I will. Everything will be all right. Now, wait. Okay, it's all right. The girls are out waiting to go on.
Okay. All right, close it. Close it flat.
Sure. Now, go on, Ralph. You can sneak out that way and write to me, will you? Please write to me.
Yeah,
huh?
sure. Josie.
You better hurry.
Now, listen, Josie, have you got any money?
Well, I haven't got very much. I got only about $250.
Oh, well, look, baby, can I borrow $200? You'll get it back, every cent back.
But it's in a savings bank, in Chicago.
Oh.
Well, gee, I'm sorry, Ralph. You know I'd let you have it. But you'll be all right. Everything will be fine.
Listen, Josie, leave the show and come to Chicago with me, will you?
Ralph, I can't do that. They need me here.
Oh, what do you want to stay with a lousy, rundown outfit like this for? Come on to Chicago. We'll have a real time, you and me.
Gee, Ralph, I don't know. It's not right to leave like that without notice.
What do you think they'd give you notice? Look, I'm going to Alex's trail. I'm going to get my stuff. And then I'm going to hitchhike over to Sioux City. There's 3 or 4 buses out of there for Chicago at night. I'll wait in the bus station for you. The bus station is Sioux City.
Ralph, I can't. You know how I feel about you, but I can't.
I'll be waiting for you in the bus station.
Ralph.
I need you there, Josie. I need you. Now, you pull out of here as soon as they tear down the show tonight. All right?
All right. I'll meet you in the bus station.
Well, that was how this fugitive made his escape. He was, as we shall see, an Army deserter. In addition to that violation of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, he was also sought for the burglary of the residences of 2 non-commissioned officers on the military reservation at Fort Meade, Maryland, when he was stationed there. At midnight that night, in the headquarters of the 5th Army Military Police Criminal Investigation Detachment in Chicago, First Sergeant Edward P. Ellis, on duty in that office, had just dialed the telephone number.
Major Landry, please.
Speaking.
Oh, this is Sergeant Ellis, sir. Sorry to disturb you at home.
That's all right. What is it, Sergeant?
We just got a wire, sir. A reply from that sheriff in Iowa.
Did he get him?
No, sir.
Oh. Now, what'd the wire say?
Says Major Robert L. Landry, 5th Army Military Police Criminal Investigation Detachment, Chicago. Information good, but missed Ralph Hale, wanted by your office. Hale fled while I was on Carnival lot to make arrest.
Well, that's that, I guess.
Yes, sir. No information regarding present whereabouts.
All right, Sergeant. Send a wire back to the sheriff over my name and thank him.
Yes, sir.
We'll get him, Sergeant. I want you to catch up with that Carnival and see what kind of information you can turn up. Somebody around there ought to know where he was heading.
When shall I leave, sir?
I'll come into the office and we can talk it over. You can leave tonight.
Cheer up, will you, Josie? There's plenty for you to do in Chicago. You can get a job 10 minutes after the bus pulls.
I'm not worried about that, Ralph. I shouldn't have left the show like that without notice. Where are they going to find another girl in the middle of Iowa like
Look,
that?
worry about yourself a little bit instead of other people, will you?
I'm just that way, that's all.
Well, if you got to worry about somebody else, you worry about me.
Look, I am worried about you. You don't have to tell me to worry about you.
I'll be all right. As long as I have a little bit of dough to get settled on and look around. Now, you sure you got that money in the bank in Chicago, huh?
Yeah, I
You got your bank book with you?
I got that, too.
Okay.
Ralph,
Hmm?
what did that sheriff want to talk to you for? Exactly, I mean.
Oh, I've been in a little trouble.
I know that. I mean exactly. After all, I left the show. I'm going to Chicago with you, giving me that money. I'm entitled to know.
Well, how much do you think a guy can make roughnecking around a small-time show like that? I've been working the short con. I guess one of the marks put in a beef. I took some small-town suckers for a couple of touches. Everybody does it. It's practically legit.
Well, the bus is going to get in awful early in the morning. We got to find rooms and everything.
Listen, don't bother about that, kid. I think we'll be set all right.
Where?
I got a friend in Chicago. We used to work together a lot. He'll find a spot for us.
Oh, all right.
His name is Fatso.
That's a funny name.
Yeah, well, it fits. He's not what you'd call good-looking.
Gee, I don't think I can hold my head up anymore, Ralph.
Yeah, we'll go to sleep.
Can I lean on your shoulder?
Lean on the pillow they give you. My shoulder's not a pillow.
All right. Night. Wake me up when we get to Chicago.
Yeah, I will. You can count on it.
Do, Ralph, except get a job.
Look, Josie, don't bother me with your problems, will you? Fatso invited us here to have a drink, not to listen to your troubles. Isn't that right, Fatso?
She's got a point, Ralph. If she don't work, how are we going to pay the rent? And look, there ain't even much left in the bottle. That's as important as rent.
We'll manage. Don't worry about that. We'll manage.
We sure managed fine so far, didn't we? Took all my money out of the bank. It's not even a week yet, and tomorrow there won't be a cent left.
What are you complaining? Listen, if you're complaining, you can get on the bus and go back to the show.
I'm not complaining, Ralph. You know I'm not. I'm just worried, that's all.
You and me both.
Well, who'd figure that Fatso was in such a spot and strapped for dough like me? I thought he'd be in good shape.
I've been having a rough year, Ralph. I've been sick.
Well, if I want that dice job, I better call him then.
Well, go on. Call him then.
There's a phone under the stairs.
All right.
I'll pour you another drink in the meanwhile.
No, don't do that. I don't want any more.
And I'll pour one for myself. She's an awful pretty girl, Ralph.
She'll do.
You ought to be nice to her. It's good to have somebody that likes you. You treat them right, and they keep liking you.
What do you know about women?
I know if I had one like that, I'd treat her right. Giving her last money, too.
All right, it's a shame she's got no more. Now, listen, are you interested in this deal I was telling you about or not?
Where'd you hear about it anyway? In the Army?
No, since I left, since I went with the show.
Look, I don't mind traveling and all that, but you got to be sure the old man's got all that money in the house.
I can be sure of it. Some guy I drank beer with in town. He worked for him. He spent the whole night talking about him. He's got a safe in the wall of his living room.
Yeah, but has he got dough in it?
Yeah, he's got dough in it.
How old is he, anyway?
He's over 60, way over 60.
I guess he won't be much trouble.
No trouble at all. We leave Chicago in the afternoon, just in time to get to the old man's house at midnight. We do our business, we turn right around, we come back. Nobody even knows we're out of Chicago.
Nobody but Josie.
Josie is coming with us.
On the job?
On the job.
You're not going to tell her what you got in mind. She wouldn't like it.
She wakes up and finds herself part of the deal. She'll have to like it.
Back to Gangbusters in a moment. Marcus Whitman, Frontier Doctor, will be the real-life hero of tomorrow night's Radio Hall of Fame. Lionel Barrymore, your host, tells the story of this pioneer Oregonian who risked his life to help America open the Pacific Northwest to settlement. Lionel Barrymore will have the aid of a top Hollywood cast in the Radio Hall of Fame's outstanding production, Marcus Whitman, Frontier Doctor, tomorrow evening on most of these same CBS radio stations. And now back to Gangbusters and Lieutenant Colonel Moore.
Well, as the 5th Army Criminal Investigation Detachment of the Military Police sought information leading to the whereabouts of an Army deserter who had also been accused of burglary on a military reservation, the fugitive, in company of his friend and the girl Josie, left Chicago for the small Nebraska city, intent upon robbing an elderly resident. Shortly after midnight, the stolen car in which they had driven from Chicago pulled up in front of the spacious Victorian residence where their intended victim lived all alone.
What a casa.
Ralph, I'm afraid. I don't want to do it.
What's there to be afraid of?
I never did anything like this before. I never stole a thing in my life.
This is a good time as any to start. Go on, get out.
It seems so off.
That's an awful big house, Ralph. You don't think he's got borders or anything?
He's got nothing except dough. Now, come on.
Dogs. You think he's got dogs? I'm scared to death of dogs.
He's got no dogs.
Only money.
Yeah, you said it, baby. Only money. And he won't have that long.
Maybe he's not home. There's not a light anyplace.
He never goes anywhere. He's asleep. All right, hold it here. Now, we'll stay out of sight here, Josie. Go to it.
Ralph, can't.
Go on, will you?
All right.
That's a good girl.
get down.
I'm down.
Go on, push the bell.
There it is.
Again.
There goes the light in the bedroom.
Really quiet.
I'm quiet.
Take him a couple of seconds to get downstairs.
Yes? What do you want?
Excuse me, I got a flat on my car. Could I use your phone?
Do you have to wake me up in the middle of the night?
Well, I couldn't help it if I had a flat. Please?
All right, just a second.
I'm awfully sorry, but I really didn't know what to do.
As long as you woke me up, come on in.
All right, let's go.
Thank you very much.
Out of the way, honey.
Hey, what's that?
Watch the door. Get away from there, Swanson.
No, let me go. Let me
Hold him.
Let me go.
I got him. All right, honey, shut the door.
Yeah.
Let me go. Will you let me go?
Hold still, old
All right,
timer.
baby, turn on that light.
Please.
Turn on the light, will you?
Let me go, will you?
Go on, old timer. Get in there. In the living room. Go on.
All right, that's far enough.
What do you want?
What are you asking foolish questions for, Mr. Swanson? You know what we want. Money. All of it. Now, sit down there.
I got no money here.
Didn't you hear him? He said, sit down.
Baby,
Yeah.
turn on some lamps in here, will you? It should be a little more cheerful in here.
Yeah, to say the least.
All right.
Yeah, Mr. Swanson, money. All the money you got.
I've got none here.
How's that? You want some more light?
Now, that's enough. Find a seat someplace and stay out of the way. Fatso?
Yeah.
See that picture of the ocean breezes on the wall there?
Yeah.
We'll take it down.
This picture here?
Yeah, that's the picture. Take it down.
Now, wait for
Shut
me
up,
to-
Mr. Swanson.
Hey, look at this. A safe. A safe right in the wall.
Come here, Fatso.
Huh? That thing shouldn't be too much trouble.
Ah, we won't give us much trouble if Mr. Swanson don't give us much trouble. What's the combination, Mr. Swanson? What's the matter? Can't you hear me when I talk to you? Now, what's the combination? What is the combination?
Ralph, wait a minute.
Go on back there and sit.
Please, Ralph, don't do that anymore.
How are we going to get him to open the safe if we don't?
Let me try.
Go ahead, if you're such a wonder.
Look, Mr. Swanson, what's the use of getting yourself hurt, huh? I didn't know it was going to be anything like this or I wouldn't have come along. Now, tell him what the combination is. I don't want to see you get hurt.
What are you doing here? You're just as bad as them.
Don't talk like that to the lady. Let go of me, will you?
All right, let him go.
Please don't hurt him.
Honest, how can a guy work with all this interference?
Honey, go over in the other room. Keep a sharp look out of the window. Watch for any cars stopping in front.
Yeah, but-
Go on, will you?
All right. But don't hurt him.
That's right, through there.
Please don't hurt him.
All right, now, Mr. Swanson. No.
That's it. Let him go.
You want the combination, don't you?
You let him go.
Oh.
All right, now, Mr. Swanson, how about it?
No, I won't tell you.
You see, Ralph?
I'm going to show you something, Mr. Swanson. I'm going to show you this.
What'd you need a gun for?
Get your hands away.
Sit down there. And stay there.
What are you going to do?
What's the combination?
No. You wouldn't kill me.
Well, let's see how close I can come.
No. No.
Feel that whiz by your ear, Mr. Swanson?
No.
Now, what's the combination?
Well, what is it?
Well, let's whiz one by the other ear. Now, what's the combination?
No.
He didn't shoot.
No, we didn't shoot him. Get back in there. Will you go back in there?
What's the matter with her, anyway?
Now, listen to me, Mr. Swanson. I'm tired of messing around. What is the combination? What is it?
Go on,
Come
make
on,
it
come on.
play.
What is it? Come on, what is it? What is it?
Hey, take it easy. You'll kill him.
It's your life. I'll kill him. Can't toy with me.
Watch it. Watch it. Uh-oh. I think that done it.
Mr. Swanson. Come on, Mr. Swanson. Quit stalling.
You ask me, Ralph, I think that really done
Well,
it.
who's asking me?
After all, he ain't no youngster.
All right, what are you worried about?
If you were going to kill him, you should have waited until we got the combination.
We'll open the safe without the combination.
How? Tell me how.
Will you
will
look for some tools? And go to work on the safe while Josie and I see what else is around this house.
Agent Landry. This is Corporal Lochner, sir. Sergeant Ellis is calling in from Ames, Iowa. Oh, good. Put him on. Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir. Hello, sir. Yes, Sergeant?
I caught up at the carnival in Keokuk, and I've been following them around for a couple of days.
Good. What'd you find out?
Well, nobody's heard from Ralph Hale, but there was a girl with the show. Josie McAllister is the name she was working under.
Yeah?
She left without notice the night Hale ran out.
They think she might be with Hale?
Well, they say she could be, sir. One of her friends here had a postcard from this Josie. She's working as a dice girl in some tavern there in Chicago.
Where in Chicago?
I got the postcard, Major. It doesn't say what tavern, just Chicago.
All right, that's better than nothing. We'll see what we can do with it.
Hey, Ralph.
What?
How about it? Can we stop at the next joint for a sandwich or something?
The idea is not to stop for a sandwich. The idea is just to get back to Chicago as fast as we can. Just get some speed out of this thing and put in some miles before it gets daylight.
Ralph, how could you kill him? How could you do such a thing?
Josie, let's not go over that again. It was an accident. He fell.
That poor old guy.
What did she say?
You just take care of the driving up there, Fatso. I'll take care of the conversation back here. Now, listen, you get one thing through your head, Josie. You're in this just as much as we are.
I didn't want to come along.
No, but you did. You helped. So the best thing for you to do is to forget it, go about your business, keep your mouth shut.
Just to kill a guy like that and for nothing, practically.
All right, so we couldn't get the safe open. Had $100 in cash in his pocket. It's better than nothing.
Kill a man for $100.
That's what you think. But Josie, look.
What's that? Oh, my.
Shut up. Fatso don't know about it. I found it upstairs. It's 2 carats at least.
Hey, what's all the whispering?
Oh, when you sweet talk nothings to your girlfriend, you don't shout, do you?
Oh.
When we get to Chicago, you get back to your job, Josie. And you wait and see. Things are going to be just up.
Thus, the search was concentrated in Chicago. Every available military police investigator was used in the attempt to track down the girl Josie, who was known to be working as a dice girl in a Chicago tavern. Meanwhile, the robbery and homicide had not been tied to the former carnival worker and Army deserter. The aid of Chicago detectives was requested in the hunt for the dice girl. But a week passed, and the investigators still were not able to locate her.
Come on, 80K.
And 3 is 22. You want to try again?
Sure, why not? Gotta win sometime, don't I? Josie?
If you keep trying long enough.
That's your name, Josie, isn't it?
Yeah, that's my name.
Nice name.
Roll the dice, mister. I'm not here to carry on conversations.
Neither am I.
Hey, Josie, I got to talk to
I'm
you.
busy now,
I don't care how busy you are. I got to talk to you.
Later.
Where's Ralph? Is he coming here?
I don't know where Ralph is. Go on, roll, mister.
Yeah.
Did Ralph bring a ring from Nebraska?
A ring? I don't know.
He did, didn't he? And you two didn't say nothing.
I don't know, Fatso. Now, please, I'm busy.
Okay, you're busy. I'm busy, too. I'm telling you something. You two better show up at my place after you get finished tonight. I want to get this settled, and I want to get it settled good.
Fatso, I got a customer. Excuse it, mister.
Oh, I love fights.
I heard from sources that Ralph got a ring. I want my part of that. If I don't get it, there'll be trouble, real trouble. Now, both of you show up tonight. I'll see you later.
He's mad.
Yeah, I guess he has a right to be. Well, go on, roll, mister.
No, I think I've had enough. Here, this squares us, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
So long, Josie.
Roll again, mister.
That's a girl, all right, Major.
Good.
They're going to meet Ralph later. She and that guy, Fatso his name is. They were arguing about a ring.
Were they?
Yes, sir. And that part didn't make sense to me.
And we'll try to make sense out of it. Now, let's see where that fellow Fatso goes. And see if the girl and Ralph keep that date.
Well, if you don't intend to give him his share, Ralph, why are you coming to see him? That's what I don't understand.
You don't understand a lot of things, Josie. All right, go on in.
He's entitled to it, you know.
He's entitled to what I want to give him.
Ralph, listen to me. Why make trouble for yourself? Aren't you involved enough now? Give him what he's got coming to him.
Go on, get upstairs.
All right.
And I don't want to hear any more out of you either. I can ship you back to that carnival so fast your head will spin.
Oh, no, you won't.
Now, you listen to me, baby. Don't you backtalk me. You're in this thing just as much as anybody. You can get just as much as me, so remember that. If I say back to the show, you go, and no arguments. Now, get upstairs.
All right. You don't have to shove me.
You and Fatso got to learn to take what you get and be happy with it.
What about my $250?
You'll get it when I feel like giving it to you.
And I don't feel like it yet. Come on, Fatso, open up. You know who it is.
Yeah. Okay, Ralph.
All right, come on. Now, listen, Fatso.
All right, Ralph, stand still.
Sorry, police. Hold it, not me.
Watch him. There he goes.
I got him in there.
You just think you have him there. Let me go. Watch him upstairs. Harry, let me go.
Sir, he's running. Going any place else? No. No place at all.
Everything okay, sir?
I got no complaints, Sergeant. No complaints at all.
And that was how this Army fugitive was taken by criminal investigators of the Military Police Corps. Subsequently, his connection with the Nebraska homicide came to light. Following a court-martial and a dishonorable discharge from the Army, he was turned over to the Nebraska authorities to be tried with his Confederates on a charge of murder. They were found guilty and received appropriate sentences under the law. This incident shows that any crime is of concern to all enforcement officials and to all citizens. Neither the military police nor the civilian law enforcement officials can prevent or solve all crimes without the assistance of the other. Tonight we are observing the 12th anniversary of the Military Police Corps. The attainment of this milestone has been greatly enhanced by the aid of your local police. This sentiment is extended to the police of most foreign countries, who in these days of uneasy peace work hand in glove with us. On behalf of the Provost Marshal General and every military policeman throughout the world, I want to thank Gangbusters for this opportunity to show you how your Army works for you in peace as they do in war.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Harley Moore, Chief of Operations from the Office of the Provost Marshal General, United States Army. Now, Gangbusters nationwide clues broadcast every week as a public service to assist American police in their war against the underworld. Attention, all citizens. Watch for this man, Herbert Paul Jenkins, wanted by the FBI for unlawful flight to avoid prosecution for murder. His official description:
Herbert Paul Jenkins, age 51, height 5 feet 9 inches, 170 to 190 pounds, medium build, brown hair, blue eyes, fair complexion, may seek work as farmer, mechanic, steel, or shipyard worker. He has the tattoo Inez below left elbow, has oblique scar above inner corner of right eyebrow, a small oblique scar below nose, an irregular scar below left side of jaw, and a 1 1/2 inch scar on inner right forearm. He has a furrow between his eyes.
Caution, Jenkins may be armed and should be considered extremely dangerous. Watch for him. Attention, all citizens. Watch for George Lester Bellew, wanted by the FBI for interstate transportation of stolen property. His official description:
George Lester Bellew, age 39, 5 feet 9 inches, 160 to 70 pounds, medium build, dark brown hair, brown eyes, medium complexion. May seek work as a nurse, clerk, or artist. This man has a scar on bridge of his nose, on his lower right arm, a tattoo of a heart pierced with a dagger, and the words, "Death before dishonor."
Caution, Bellew may be armed and should be considered dangerous. If you have any information concerning these fugitives, notify your local police, the nearest office of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or Gangbusters at once. Tonight's Gangbusters case was dramatized by Stanley Niss and directed by Leonard L. Bass, with Bob Reddick, Juano Hernandez, and Terry Keane in leading roles. The entire production was supervised for CBS Radio by John Ives. Gaylord Avery speaking.
next week, same time, same CBS station, to amazing facts in The Case of the Soda Fountain Pigeon on Gangbusters, a production of CBS Radio in cooperation with Phillips H. Lord. With Harry Lillis Crosby, Freeman Gosden, and Charles Correll checking in on CBS Radio tomorrow night, we're happy to remind you that from now on they'll be keeping company Sunday nights with our man Benny Kubelski. Or, looking at it another way, with the Bing Crosby Show and Amos and Andy returning to most of these stations tomorrow night, they'll be heard the same evening as Jack Benny. It's all yours tomorrow evening with the rest of our Sunday Fun Day lineup presented by CBS Radio. And remember, America's 45 million radio families listen most to the CBS Radio Network.
Proudly we hail. From New York City, where the American stage begins, here is another program with a cast of outstanding players. Public service time has been made available by this station for your Army and your Air Force to bring you this story. As proudly we hail Major Charles E. Yeager, United States Air Force. Flight Through Sound, the story of the ever-growing pioneer spirit of our United States Air Force, the story of the first man to fly faster than the speed of sound. Our first act arrives in just a moment, but first, young man, take your place in the new age as an Air Force aviation cadet. You'll get 18 months of intensive training, learn all about jet operation, and you'll be surprised how easy jets are to fly and how safe, too. Aviation cadets graduate as Air Force lieutenants with earnings of over $5,000 a year. To qualify, you must be between the ages of 19 and 26 and a half, single, and have at least 2 years of college. Visit your nearest United States Army and United States Air Force recruiting station for details. And now your Army and your Air Force present the proudly we hail production, Flight Through Sound. Chuck Yeager. Name mean anything to you? It should. Chuck Yeager and the X-1, the first man and the first plane to fly through the dreaded shockwaves that come at the speed of sound and live to tell the tale. Chuck Yeager and the X-1 will both go down in history because their flight through sound was, well, historic. At the time Chuck Yeager made his flight, it was widely believed that when an aircraft reached the speed of sound, it would disintegrate. And there was none to say it wouldn't. Many planes had disintegrated in midair when coming close to the sonic wall. Many a good man, too many, had lost his life because his plane got out of control when it approached the speed of sound. None had reached or surpassed the speed of sound and returned to talk about it. Three men are talking in a bare room at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, the Air Force's giant search and testing field outside of Dayton, Ohio. The season is midsummer and hot. The year 1947. The men are Colonel Albert Boyd, commanding officer of Edwards Air Force Base at Muroc Lake, California, Captain Jack Ridley, flight test engineer, and Captain Charles E. Yeager, a pilot. Captain Yeager has obviously just been called into the conference. There's an air of informality in the room. Colonel Boyd is talking.
Well, that's the way it is, Yeager. Now, you're not being ordered to do anything. We just want to explain the problem to you.
I'll be the flight test engineer, Chuck, and I think I can explain to you what you might want to know. But you have to know what this is all about before you can answer.
Well, maybe I can cut this short and make it easier for you. You've got a new project for me. You want me to take Bell Aircraft's new X-1 up and test it? Right. But it isn't a normal testing job. The X-1 isn't really a plane. It's a flying laboratory. That was built for one purpose. To see if man can fly a plane faster than the speed of sound. Well, I sort of guessed that. Bell had a pilot, a good man. He tested the X1. He took it up about Mach .8, and then he backed out. Maybe he wasn't as curious as I am. So they give the X1 to another pilot. Now, he went through the same performance. He was willing to test any plane, but he wasn't going to try to fly through the sound barrier for any amount of money. I want you to know all this. I don't think any less of those men. If the plane can do it, someone's going to try it. Why not me?
As much as a person can know about anything that's never been done, I know that plane can fly through the sound barrier. What'll happen then, we don't know.
Where do we go? Edwards Air Force Base, Muroc Lake, California. We'll do a lot of talking about this, though, before we start.
Colonel Boyd, excuse me. My name is Kenneth Banghart. I've been listening, and I've got some questions. Some things I don't understand. Maybe you could help me.
Well, I can guess a few. What is Mach?
Mm-hmm.
How fast is sound, right?
That's right.
Well, the speed of sound varies with the temperature and the density of the air. Now, roughly at sea level, at about 60 degrees Fahrenheit, the speed of sound is about 760 miles per hour.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the temperature gets lower, so does the speed of sound, as you go higher. Now, at about 35,000 feet, the temperature levels off to minus 67 degrees. That's 67 below zero.
Uh-huh.
And it stays that way up to over 100,000 feet. And all through that, the speed of sound is constant at 662 miles an hour.
So, the speed of sound varies between 660 and 760 miles an hour. That's about a mile every 5 seconds. That doesn't seem so fast. About 12 miles a minute.
Huh?
Hey, wait. That's not 12 miles an hour. That's 12 miles a minute.
Right. Wow. And now for Mach. That's the speed of sound. Instead of calibrating instruments for high speeds in miles per hour, you see, we do it in terms of Mach.
Uh-huh.
Mach 1 is speed of sound. Now, 3/4 of the speed of sound, say around 540 miles an hour, well, we call that Mach .75.
I see. So, it looks as though sound travels through the air about as fast as anything can without causing trouble. The shock waves begin at what you call the sonic wall, the sound barrier.
Yes, that's right. And beyond that speed, the air just doesn't get out of the way in a normal fashion. It bunches up into fists that can punch holes through the toughest metals, well, that can cause aircraft to disintegrate in midair. Now, we don't know all the things shock waves can do. We just know they're there. And that nice, soft stuff, the air we breathe and live in and can't do without, well, it suddenly isn't soft anymore. It becomes an enemy.
Pilots had hit that sound barrier long before Chuck Yeager, but none had gone through. If they did get through, they didn't come back to tell the tale, and neither did their instruments. It was Captain Yeager's project now to nurse the X-1 through a series of tests until he flew through the sound wall and came back to let the engineers know what lay beyond. Why did they choose Chuck Yeager for this? Well, maybe if we find out a little about him, we'll know. Maybe we should ask him a few questions. Where are you from, Captain Yeager?
Hamlin, West Virginia. Of course, you never heard of it. It's only a small town, about 850 people. I went to school there. Graduated from the Hamlin High School when I was 18. So that fall, I enlisted in the Air Force. I started out as a mechanic, but after a while they sent me out to a flying school in California and made me into a pilot. Guess that's all there is to it.
That's all there was to it, he says. Well, he was transferred to Victorville, California, where he met a pretty, dark-haired girl named Glennis Stickhouse. Chuck Yeager received his wings in March of 1943. There was a dance afterwards, and Flight Officer Yeager was there with his girl.
Let's go outside a minute, Glennis.
All right, if you want.
You know, this can't come as any surprise to you. I love you.
I know.
Ever since I first met you. First I looked and thought, boy. Well, then I thought, isn't she pretty? And then I thought, I'd like to meet her. And I did. And it was you.
I knew you were thinking something like that. I knew you were looking at me. You had a sunburn and your eyes were so blue and honest and you looked... Well, I don't know, a little shy and frightened so that I wanted to comfort you. But at the same time, you look very competent. As though you knew just what you were doing and were able to take care of yourself. And I think I figured you could take care of me, too.
I'd like to. Will you marry me?
Oh, you don't have to ask. You know my answer.
Oh, there are so many things we have to do. I want you to meet my family, want them to meet you. And I wish I didn't have to go away, but I'll be back.
I'll be waiting.
I'll name my planes for you.
Glennis? Won't it look odd?
Oh, not just Glennis. Beautiful Glennis. No, glorious Glennis. No, wait a minute. I've got it. Glamorous Glennis. That's you.
Oh, they'd better treat you nicely, these glamorous Glennises, and bring you back to me, or I'll disown them.
They will. I'll be back.
It was wartime. All over the country, young lovers were being parted. Flight Officer Charles Yeager was assigned to the 363rd Fighter Squadron of the 357th Fighter Group and sent first to Tonopah, Nevada, and then at the end of 1943 to England. Chuck Yeager made quite a record for himself. He was shot down over occupied France, escaped with the help of the French resistance forces to Spain, walked through that country until he reached Gibraltar and the RAF going back to England. By the end of the war, he had flown 64 missions, downed 13 German planes. He was Captain Yeager by then and the holder of the Distinguished Flying Cross, the Bronze Star Medal, the Air Medal, and the Purple Heart, and enough oak leaf clusters to start a forest. Captain Yeager went home then to marry his Glennis. He continued flying, first at Perrin Field in Texas, and then at the Fighter Flight Test Branch at Wright Air Force Base, Ohio, outside of Dayton. That's where he met Colonel Boyd, and where Colonel Boyd and Captain Ridley started talking to him about the X-1. Chuck Yeager went home and talked it over with Glennis.
You know, you've been here at Wright almost 2 years now.
Yes?
Colonel Boyd is running the show out at Edwards in California. He'd like me to go with him.
You want to? What would the work be?
Well, it won't be a desk job, honey. It'll be a long time before I become a chairborne flyer. I hope. You'd like me to get into something else, wouldn't you?
I would never ask you to. If I were to tell you that I didn't worry every time you went up, I'd be telling a lie, but I worried about you so much during the war, and then when you were missing.
But I came back.
Well, that's what I keep telling myself. And you were a flyer when I met you and when I said I'd marry you. And I sort of like you, just the way you are.
Well, it's a good thing for you that you do, because I'm the stubborn type and I don't change easily. And I wouldn't give you up, so looks as though you're stuck with me.
A terrible fate, but I'll try to bear up.
All right, then bear up under the rest of your fate. We're going back to California.
Edwards Air Force Base? Muroc Lake?
That's us. Special Flight Test Command. Like it?
Oh, I'll be glad to get back to California, but why Muroc Lake? I lived in Northern California all my life and never heard of Muroc Lake until I married the Air Force.
Well, Muroc's not really what you call Northern California. It's about 70 miles inland from Los Angeles in the Mojave Desert. And it's about the best landing field in the world.
A lake?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what have they got in it? The world's largest flat top?
Well, it would have a hard time moving. Because Muroc Lake is a dried lake. Completely level. Completely flat, with the mud baked out hard. 11 miles long, 4 miles wide. The whole thing like a huge runway.
And what goes on at Muroc? Oh, secret.
Yes, some of it. That's where we test planes. New planes and new designs. You've got room to make a mistake in landing or taking off on the big lake. You can come down fast and roll for miles. They get planes from all over the country. And they're getting us.
But what will you be doing there?
Testing, dear, testing. I shall be, quote, one of those anonymous flyers whose names are never known, but without whom aviation progress could not continue, unquote. Well, who knows? I may get a chance to be the first person to do something. Start something new. Change the way people live.
You are listening to the proudly we hail production Flight Through Sound. We'll return in just a moment for the second act. College men, you can learn to fly the latest and fastest jets easily and safely as an Air Force aviation cadet. Aviation cadets get 18 months of tough, concentrated jet training, leading to a lieutenant's commission in the Air Force and earnings of more than $5,000 a year. Your future is unlimited. To qualify, you must be between the ages of 19 and 26 and a half, single, and have at least 2 years of college. Visit your local United States Army and United States Air Force recruiting station now. You are listening to Proudly We Hail, and now we present the second act of Flight Through Sound. Captain Yeager and his wife, Gwyneth, and Donald, age 2, Michael, 1, moved to Muroc Lake. Captain Yeager has flown the X-1 often, testing its performance. It's the middle of October, 1947.
There she is, Glenn. The X-1, my project.
That plane?
Well, what did you expect, a boxcar?
Well, most of the fighter planes are larger than this.
Well, sure, but they have to be. This was built for just one purpose, to carry me and a lot of equipment.
I don't know what I really expected to see, but not this. What makes this one so special? What makes it go so fast?
Well, as you can see, there are no propellers, no air scoops for jets. It's rockets. Rockets powerful enough to someday send us to the moon.
Oh. Hey, they're pulling it away. You're playing. While we're standing here with our teeth in our mouth, a tractor is pulling your plane away.
Hi, Glenn. Hi, Chuck.
Hi, Jack.
We're all set, Chuck. How about you?
Anytime. Where's Cardenas?
Back there, checking over his B-29. That won't take long. You better check in. I picked up your assignment card.
Okay, thanks. No change in the assignment. Just the things we lined up,
That's right. Short one this time.
Okay, bye, Glenn.
Oh, bye.
Why don't you stick around, Glennis, and watch the test?
Think I can stand it?
Oh, sure. Sure, this is pure routine. Just checking some adjustments we made.
Then maybe I will.
Good. You stay right here and make yourself comfortable. Maybe I can explain to you what's going on while you're watching. Although you probably know as much about what goes on as I do.
From Chuck? Are you kidding?
Well, they're taking off now. B-29 over there.
Where? Oh,
They're airborne now. See?
all I see is one plane.
Uh-huh. That's right. There's the X-1 nestled under the superport like a little, I don't know, bird or something.
It's a piggyback ride in reverse. But how does it help? Oh, I mean, if it can go so fast, why does it need a mother plane to pick it up?
Well, you see, it takes more effort to get the ship in the air to overcome the initial inertia. It would use up a certain amount of the X-limited fuel supply to get her off the ground, to get her moving. She's due to drop any minute.
Drop?
Well, you know, leave the B-29 and fly on her own. Watch.
Oh, there it goes. Look, the B-29's going backwards.
No, that's just the way it looks. You see, it's just that the X-1 shoots away so fast. Do you see what I'm getting at?
I think I'm getting the idea. But what really does happen at the speed of sound?
Well, you want to know something? We don't really know. Your husband probably knows as much about that as any man alive. But we don't know, but we're coming closer to it every day. One of these days we'll find out.
Glennis didn't know it, but she saw a semi-historic flight, the last test flight of the X-1 before the big one. The next day, when Captain Yeager left his pleasant little desert house, he may have taken an extra long look at the kids when Glennis wasn't noticing. When he got to the base and went into Tremor Boyd's office, there was no sense in pretending that it was just another test. This was the day, the big one. Major Cardenas greeted him as he comes in.
How you feeling, Chuck?
Good stuff.
Now stop the kidding, boys. You're going to do something today that no man's ever done before.
You're smart enough to know what that means.
The thing is, I'm curious enough to want to find out what happened.
Good, as long as you feel that way.
Now, the main thing is, don't take any unnecessary chances. If everything doesn't seem just right, don't do it. I mean, we'd rather have you come back without getting up to Mach 1 than have you go as fast as sound and not get back.
Don't worry. I'll be back, all right.
It's October 14, 1947, a date that has gone down in aviation history.
shows the mothership carrying the X-1. Major Cardenas is in command of the B-29, number 800. He will take the X-1 aloft, talk with Captain Yeager on the radio, and tell him when to drop after the B-29 has attained the right altitude and speed. Then Major Cardenas' task is finished, and it's up to Captain Yeager. There go the only other craft that will be in the sky at the time. The two F-80 chase planes that will observe the behavior of the X-1 when she makes her pass at the unknown, the flight through sound. We're up about 7,000 feet now. Captain Yeager gets into the X-1 through a little side door. He spends the next few minutes getting himself set, putting on his oxygen mask, checking all the controls, looking over the instruments, while Major Cardenas takes the two planes up higher and higher. He looks through a narrow windshield, a small window made not of plastic, but of glass. Friction with the air might melt the plastic. He sits there, able to hear the engines of the B-29 that are carrying him and his X-1 like an eagle with a rabbit in its claws, waiting for word from Major Cardenas.
I'm turning on downwind leg at 21,000 feet. Can you hear me?
Roger.
You all right?
Fine. Except I'm scared stiff.
You always say that.
Always am.
So we'll think you're a hero or something.
Not.
I'm turning on the base leg. 5 minutes of drop time.
5 minutes. 4. 3 minutes. To what? Nobody knows. To hit against the sound barrier? To shake to pieces? To find that sound puts up a wall that can't be broken through or climbed or detoured? Another 100 beats of the heart. And then what?
Air Force 800 to NACA radar Edwards Tower, F-80 chase aircraft, 1 minute warning. Pilot to Yeager, 30 seconds to drop time. Start your recording instruments at 15.
I always do.
I know, but I'm supposed to remind you.
Hit all the numbers this time when you count. You always forget one.
Don't worry about the numbers. You go off when I say drop. You're at the 15 now. Start your instruments.
That started.
15 seconds to the unknown. 15 seconds, and each one is an eternity.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, 1, drop.
Dropping clear.
Air Force 800 at exactly 1412, X-1 drop clear.
X-1 to Muroc Tower. We're starting down. First rocket. Feels like someone hitting me, shoving me back. It picks up speed so fast. Initial acceleration tremendous. Mach 0.6. Using second rocket. Mach 0.7. Still accelerating rapidly. Mach 0.8. Not picking up speed so fast. Using rocket. Mach 0.9. Beginning to get shock waves. Still in full control. Mach 0.94. 95. Using last rocket. This is it. Mach 0.97. Making worse. Responsive and closed. Unevenly. 0.98. 0.99. We're going to make it. Mach 1. We made it. Mach 1. Faster now. Mach 1.1. 1.2. We did it. Vibration's all gone. So is sound. Running like a baby carriage going downhill. No sound. No vibration. Beyond Mach 1, everything is quiet. Easy. Dream. No vibration. No shock waves. No sound.
And then the little orange speedster began to slow down. Slow down. What a thing to say. Slow down to 600 miles an hour. It's used up its rockets. Its power is gone. It's performed its function. And Charles Yeager, the first man to fly faster than sound, is performing common everyday tasks. Using compressed nitrogen to flush out any remainder of the dangerous LOX and alcohol from his plane's propulsion systems. and he gets his speed down to a reasonable 165 miles an hour and lands on the hard, dried mud of Muroc Lake. To be greeted by flashbulbs and reporters and radio men? No. By Colonel Boyd and Captain Ridley and secrecy.
Well, how'd it go?
You ought to know. Just the way you planned it. Just the way you said it would.
You want to do it again?
Anytime. This, now we've done it once, it's only the beginning.
You mean it? You'll go up again and do it?
Tomorrow. Now that we know we can. There are a lot of things we have to find out about supersonics. In fact, there's almost everything to be found out. It's a whole world up there.
And that was the first flight through sound. Man, earthbound, spacebound man, had done it again, had opened a new door to the future. That was October 14, 1947. That flight earned Captain, now Major Yeager, the Collier Trophy and the Mackay Trophy for outstanding service to aviation. What's Major Yeager doing now? He's testing highly classified aircraft one step removed from the designer's drawing board, and seemingly only another step from some of the craft described in science fiction. Some of these planes are perhaps as far ahead of their time as the X-1 was when Major Yeager started a few years ago.
We punched so many holes in the sonic wall, you can still see them all over the Mojave Desert.
And where's the X-1, the plane that first flew faster than sound? The X-1 is at the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C., a stubby little orange-colored plane on exhibition with other planes that made history, Wright and Langley's and Lindbergh's and others. And the man who made the history? Well, he's still making it for the United States Air Force. Proudly we hail Major Charles E. Yeager, the first man to fly faster than sound, who enlisted in the Air Force as a private less than 12 years ago. And proudly we hail all the airmen whose work and devotion to duty made the Major's historic flight possible. Young man, if you've had 2 years of college, are single and otherwise qualified, there's a future for you as an aviation cadet in the U.S. Air Force. You'll receive 18 months of the world's finest flight training, fly the latest jets easily and safely, and graduate as an Air Force lieutenant with earnings of more than $5,000 a year. The aviation cadets of today will be the leaders of the jet age. Be one of them. Visit your nearest United States Army and United States Air Force recruiting station today. This has been another program on Proudly We Hail, presented transcribed in cooperation with this station. Proudly We Hail is produced by the Recruiting Publicity Center for the United States Army and United States Air Force Recruiting Service. This is Kenneth Fanghart speaking and inviting you to tune in this same station next week for another interesting story on Proudly We Hail.
Kreml Hair Tonic and Kreml Shampoo present the new adventures of Sherlock Holmes, starring Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson and Tom Conway as Sherlock Holmes. Now, once again, it's time for our weekly visit to Dr. Watson, genial friend and colleague of the great Sherlock Holmes. Good evening, Dr. Watson. I trust I'm not intruding.
Not at all, my dear fellow, not at all. Sit down, won't you?
Thank you. You know, Dr. Watson, I've been struck by the remarkably large number of signed photographs of titled personages and notables that ornament the walls of your study. Mementos of your active career, I presume.
Yes, although I must admit most of them are clients of Sherlock Holmes rather than grateful patients of mine.
Well, now, this picture, for instance. Naturally, I recognize the photograph of the late Royal...
No names, Mr. Bell, I beg you. Holmes and I always referred to the gentleman in question merely as Mr. Edwards.
And what did you and Mr. Holmes do to cause his royal... I beg your pardon, Mr. Edwards to inscribe his photograph in such affectionate gratitude?
Nothing of any great importance, I assure you. Merely that Mr. Edwards had become a trifle entangled, shall we say, with a little dancer at Maxim's in Paris. A young lady rejoicing in the appellation of Frou-Frou. Quite a delightful little bit of fluff, too.
I gather that Sherlock Holmes settled the matter to Mr. Edwards' complete satisfaction.
Very easily and very discreetly. But it led us into one of the most curious and singular affairs of Sherlock Holmes' career, and one which I don't believe would ever have been solved had Holmes not been a distinguished amateur on the violin. I call it The Adventure of the Genuine Guarnariu.
Sounds intriguing, Dr. Watson. But if you don't mind a momentary interruption...
Not at all, Mr. Bell. Go ahead.
Men, there's a famous saying about locking the barn door after the horse has been stolen. Well, the same applies to the hare. Once bald, bald forever, they tell us. But you can make the most of the hair you've got. And you can't begin too early. That's why I want to tell you about Kreml Hair Tonic. Kreml contains very special hair grooming ingredients found in no other hair tonic. Kreml makes hair stay better groomed longer, with that natural, greatly desired he-man look. Never greasy, never sticky. But Kreml does lots more than just keep hair looking handsome. A massage with Kreml actually helps stimulate circulation in the surface of the scalp. Your scalp always feels so alive, so invigorated after applying Kreml. This highly specialized hair tonic also has an excellent lubricating effect on a dry scalp. It makes dry, brittle hair that breaks and falls feel softer and more pliable. So men, buy a bottle of Kreml Hair Tonic at any drug counter. You'll be delighted with its extra advantages. Kreml, Kreml Hair Tonic. Now, Dr. Watson, how about the adventure of the Genuine Guarnariu?
Well, the British ambassador to France, Sir Hubert Ashley, had invited Holmes and myself to a reception at the embassy in Paris in order to thank us both for successfully concluding the rather delicate affair of Mr. Edwards. The ballroom was a blaze of light. The guests were dancing. By Jove, Holmes, have you ever seen anyone more attractive than our host's wife? I must say that Lady Ashley is really the finest type of English beauty.
Sometimes, Watson, I envy the directness of your mind.
What do you mean?
When you look at a beautiful woman, you see only beauty.
What on earth would you expect me to see?
In the case of Lady Ashley, my dear fellow, I notice her elderly husband, her many gallant admirers, and I think, what a motive for murder.
Oh, really, Holmes?
Mr. Holmes, I trust our guest of honor is enjoying himself.
Very much indeed, Lady Ashley.
Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson, may I introduce a very dear friend, Monsieur Jacques Meriveau, who has known me more years than I care to remember.
How do you do?
Yes, I think I can claim to be Lady Ashley's most devoted cavalier, having first made her acquaintance when she was just over 2 hours old. She wept bitterly the moment she saw me.
Yes, but I've been trying to make up to him for it ever since.
During the time we're in Paris, Monsieur Marivaux, I've been promising myself the pleasure of a visit to your famous music shop.
I should be honored, Monsieur Holmes. I've heard, of course, that you play the violin.
Merely as the veriest amateur. Incidentally, I'm looking forward eagerly to hearing Monsieur Drenko play this evening, Lady Ashley. I was unfortunately out of London during the only recital he gave this season.
He's a great artist.
Yes, he comes from one of those little countries down the right-hand corner of the map, doesn't he? I've always heard the fellow's a bit of a bounder.
You will have an opportunity to judge at once, Watson. Our host is approaching with the gentleman in question in tow.
Holmes, there you are. Monsieur Drenko has been asking to meet you. Monsieur Drenko, Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson.
How do you do?
Hubert, if you'll excuse me, I must see to our other guests. Until later, Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson.
Oh, yes, indeed, of course.
Dr. Watson and I are looking forward to hearing you play, Monsieur Drenko.
I always enjoy an appreciative audience.
Tell me, Mr. Holmes, might I speak to you alone for a moment?
Come along, Marlowe. You promised me your opinion on that 83 champagne. No, it's a sound business, but...
Well, Mr. Dranko? I said alone, Mr. Holmes. I have no secrets from Dr. Watson. Very well, then. It so happens that I find myself in a slight predicament. I thought that with all your experience, you might advise me. As a social favor, Mr. Dranko? Gladly. If, of course, you would like to come to tea at my hotel tomorrow and bring your violin to entertain my guests. I beg your pardon. Oh. I understand, Mr. Holmes. We professionals must each respect the other's métier, must we not? It would be preferable.
Yes, I told you what sort of fellow you were.
Nevertheless, Mr. Holmes, I still ask for your advice, and I will expect to pay the customary fee. You see, I find myself a trifle involved. Only a harmless flirtation, of course, but I did write one or two indiscreet letters to one of the girls at Maxim's, and now the greedy little thing threatens blackmail. Hardly an unusual situation, Mr. Drinko. For myself, for my reputation, I do not care, you understand. An artist is an artist, but there is my wife at home. I must think of her, naturally.
You're thinking of her a trifle late, aren't you, man?
So you can see that there might be unpleasant results if Frou-Frou were to... Frou-Frou of Maxim's? You know her.
We're not unacquainted with the young person, Holmes.
From my rather brief acquaintance with her, I think the matter may be settled rather simply. Ah, well, I shall be happy if you will handle the affair.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Monsieur Drenko, whom we're all very happy to welcome here this evening, will now give us the pleasure of his incomparable music.
Here you are, gentlemen. Mademoiselle Frou-Frou's dressing room, right here.
Oh, Papa.
I say, Holmes, did you notice that girl we just passed? The one wearing just those little thingamajigs?
Quite. I also noticed, Watson, that backstage at Maxim seems to be one place where you not only see, but also observe very closely.
Oh, hello, Monsieur Holmes.
Good evening.
I have not expected to see you and that cute little Dr. Watson again so soon. But perhaps this time it is pleasure, huh? Not business?
I'm afraid not, Mademoiselle Frou-Frou.
Mademoiselle Frou-Frou, it was only because I thought the gentleman we have agreed to refer to as Mr. Edwards was at least as culpable as you that I persuaded the French police not to prosecute you in that matter of his mother's jewels.
No, but Monsieur Holmes, that little matter. We have settled it, have we not?
The charge is still pending, Mademoiselle, and at a word from me could be followed up.
But why should you?
I also happen to know that the Marsovian embassy is most curious regarding the attraction which brings Prince Danilo so frequently to Paris. That also does not concern me at the moment. Assuming, of course, that you will return at once all the letters that were written to you by Monsieur Drenko, and that you cease from molesting him any more.
Oh, je comprends très bien, I see. Well, Monsieur Holmes, since you have put it so convincingly, I am rather tired of listening to his soulfully played violin. Monsieur Drenko may have his letters back. Here they are.
Thank you, mademoiselle. I knew you were a sensible girl. Good night.
Bonsoir, merci. Et si jamais je vous vois bientôt, ce sera trop tôt, je vous l'assure.
And now what?
And now for a good night's rest. And in the morning we can report to Mr. Drenko the satisfactory solution of what was perhaps our simplest problem.
I hope you charge him a stiff fee, Holmes. I still say that fellow's a bounder.
Good morning. I think Monsieur Drenko is expecting us. Mr. Holmes and Dr. Watson. What's the number of his room, please?
Click. Send a message to the police. Oh, Monsieur Holmes.
Mr. Marlowe, what's the matter?
It's Drenko.
We were on our way up to see him.
He's dead. Killed himself.
What? Good heavens. Come, Marlowe. Take us up to his room.
The man's been dead for more than half an hour, Holmes. Closer to an hour, I should say.
I see. Marlowe, would you please ask that chap we passed, the one who was painting the hall, to step in here for a moment? But of course. Curious. I wonder what could have been Drenko's motive in committing suicide.
Here is the painter, Monsieur Holmes.
Ah, yes. Tell me, have you been working there all morning?
Oh, oui, monsieur. Ever since 8 o'clock.
For over 2 hours, in other words. And were you working constantly in sight of this door?
Absolutely, monsieur. I heard the gentleman in here practicing the violin for a while, but he stopped almost an hour ago.
That puts the time of death to just about what I thought, Holmes.
And you saw no one enter or leave this room during the entire time?
No one. Oh, except 5 minutes ago, this gentleman went into the room. A few seconds later, came running out, calling for the police.
Thank you. Your statement has been very clear. You may go now, but better not leave the hotel. No doubt the police will want to question you.
Très bien, monsieur.
I have never had such a shock in my life, Monsieur Holmes. I came up to deliver a new violin that Drenko had ordered. And when I opened the floor and saw him lying there with his face all twisted up in agony...
Yes, the common appearance of cyanide poisoning. Not very pretty, I'll admit. You'll note the characteristic odor of bitter almonds, Watson?
Yes, indeed, and here's the empty bottle.
Quite. The poison label on it removes any possibility of accident.
Nobody could possibly have got in or out for the window. The sheer drop of 4 stories to the street.
Look, Monsieur Holmes, this torn piece of paper. I found it here on the desk. It's a suicide note.
Evidently written under the stress of considerable emotion, to judge from the writing. It is intolerable. I utterly refuse to endure it any longer. Signed, Mikhail Drenko.
It's his handwriting, Monsieur Holmes. I'd swear to it.
Yes. Unquestionably the perfect setting for suicide.
No doubt about it.
Well, Monsieur Holmes, a pleasure to meet you again, even under such unfortunate circumstances.
How are you, Inspector Bernard?
Nice to see you again, my dear fellow.
Oh, thank you.
Dr. Watson and I have been carrying on for you until your arrival.
Oh, thank you. And may I pick your brains to ask what you have learned?
Marlowe here discovered the body only a few minutes ago, when he arrived to deliver a violin Drenko had ordered. The painter you'll find out in the hall has had the room under observation all morning, and will assure you that no one else entered or left it.
Yes, the fellow stopped practicing about an hour before. Sets the time of death pretty accurately. Here's his suicide note, Inspector. I'm afraid we're presenting you with rather an open and shut case.
Oh, well, Dr. Watson, a hard-working officer like myself welcomes the absence of any mystery.
And here's the violin that Drenko was practicing on.
Let me see it, Watson. Odd. Very odd indeed.
You mean odd that Drenko should be practicing the violin until just before he killed himself?
No, Inspector. That fact by itself would merely be singular. But listen to the violin on which he was practicing.
Sounds all right to me.
I confess, Monsieur Holmes, that I find no mystery in a man playing the violin just before he kills himself.
Perhaps, Inspector, you may then be able to explain why a world-famous violinist like Drenko should do his practicing on a violin that is most unmistakably out of tune.
How should I know what a man would do just before he commits suicide?
Suicide? This isn't suicide, Inspector. This is murder.
Men, once you get bald, there's nothing you can do about it. Science tells us it's impossible to grow hair on bald heads. But you can make the most of the hair you've got. And let me tell you, there's nothing better than Kreml Hair Tonic to do it. In the first place, Kreml does a marvelous job of hair grooming. It keeps every lock neatly in place, yet never looks greasy or sticky. Kreml contains very special hair grooming ingredients, the like of which have never been duplicated in any other hair tonic. But Kreml does lots more than just keep hair in place. A massage with Kreml helps stimulate circulation of the blood in the surface of the scalp. Your scalp feels so clean, so alive, so invigorated. Remember, Kreml actually helps condition the hair, in that it leaves it feeling so much softer and more pliable. It also has a grand lubricating effect on a dry scalp. So remember, men, make the most of the hair you've got. Use Kreml Hair Tonic daily. Kreml, Kreml Hair Tonic. And now, Dr. Watson, what happened in that hotel room when Sherlock Holmes told Inspector Bernard that Drenko, the violinist, had been murdered and had not committed suicide?
Well, naturally, Inspector Bernard was rather surprised. As a matter of fact, it seemed to me that he was a bit huffy about it.
But, Monsieur Holmes, you cannot fly in the face of all the evidence we see before us. The bottle of poison, clearly labeled. The suicide note, unquestionably in his own handwriting.
Dr. Watson's medical evidence that the man had been dead at least an hour. And the final confirmation of the man painting in the hall who tells us that no one entered or left this room until a few minutes ago. And against all this, Mr. Holmes, what have you to offer? A violin that is out of tune. Zut alors.
Nevertheless, Inspector, it is the crux of the entire case.
But Holmes, how can you tell what a fellow like Drenko would have done?
I can assure you, Watson, that he would have done almost anything in the world except practice on this violin. No, Inspector, this was murder. I'll stake my reputation on it.
It is only your reputation, Mr. Holmes, that makes me hesitate at all.
Give me 24 hours in which to establish how this murder was done and who did it.
Since it is you who ask it, Mr. Holmes, very well.
Thank you. Come, Watson. We have some busy hours ahead of us. Good day, gentlemen.
Where are we off to now in such a hurry, Holmes?
The British Embassy.
The Embassy? Well, why on earth?
You evidently failed to notice during last night's reception that Lady Ashley left us very abruptly the moment Drenko joined our party. Her manner to him verged on rudeness, and that's so unlike Lady Ashley that I feel that an inquiry in that quarter may bear interesting fruit.
Mr. Holmes, the purpose behind this unexpected visit?
In just a moment, Sir Hubert. I'd like to have Lady Ashley present
yes,
when I...
Hubert? My maid said you wanted to see... Why, Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson. I didn't know you were here.
I'm afraid our visit concerns a professional matter, Lady Ashley. You see, Dr. Watson and I have just come from the room of the late Monsieur Drenko.
The late Monsieur Drenko? I don't understand.
Drenko has been murdered, Lady Ashley. Quick, Watson, catch her.
It's quite all right. Nothing but a faint. You'll just ring for your wife's maid, Sir Hubert.
Yes, I'll get her at once.
I must say, Holmes, you certainly broke the news rather brutally. She took it very hard.
Nonsense, Watson. What caused her to faint was relief. That was my object. I had to find out what her reaction would be.
Here, Annette. You and Mary help Lady Ashley up to her room. Put her to bed.
Just keep her quiet, please, and a cup of hot tea will do her no harm when she comes round.
And now, gentlemen, if you'll excuse me.
I'm sorry, Sir Hubert, but I must ask you to remain here with us for a few moments.
I don't understand that.
Sir Hubert, Lady Ashley's reaction to the news of Drenko's death was a good deal more pronounced than might be expected in the circumstances.
I haven't the faintest idea what you're trying to insinuate.
I insinuate nothing. I merely state facts. Would you prefer that I question her, or will you tell me what lies behind all this?
Very well, Mr. Holmes. But I should like to spare my wife as much as possible.
My only interest is in any light that she might be able to shed on the matter.
Cynthia is a very young and very beautiful woman. Before we were married, she had, well, how shall I put it, fallen under the spell of this man, Drenko. Well, I've asked her no questions, but I know that he continued to have some strange hold over her. I had the impression that she hated seeing him and that he was forcing his presence on her on those occasions when he came as a guest in my house.
I still don't believe anyone killed the fellow, but if someone did, it sounds like a good riddance.
Unfortunately, Watson, we are not concerned with the equities of the murder, but with its solution. Thank you, Sir Hubert. You've been extremely helpful.
Well, justice must be done, Mr. Holmes. But if ever I wished that your great powers might fail, it is now. I have no hesitation whatsoever in saying that I'm infinitely grateful to the murder of that swine Drenko.
Cup of tea?
No tea, thanks. I'm rather trusting to the inspiration of music to assist me in resolving some of the more puzzling features of this case.
Oh, at least you can't complain of a scarcity of suspects. First of all, Sir Hubert, for obvious reasons. Possibly Lady Ashley. Great Scott, Holmes.
What's the matter? Tea too hot?
No, but have you thought of the possibility that Frou might have killed Drenko? After all, she might have been madly in love with him.
The possibility had occurred to me, but I discarded it.
Oh, discarded it. Hi, Joe, look at this glass here on the table. It's positively vibrating from that high note.
A not uncommon phenomenon. As you must know, certain objects vibrate in harmony with certain notes. Watson, get your coat. We promised to pay a visit to Marivaux's shop. I think this would be an ideal time to discharge that obligation.
Dingy little place, I must say. Founded 1821, eh? Looks as though they hadn't washed the windows since.
But full of priceless treasures. As Marlowe said, infinite riches in a little room.
I say, where's Marlowe? I don't like the looks of that customer over there. The one with that bushy black beard and theatrical cloak. He looks like one of those bomb-throwing fellows. What you call them, nihilist.
You must remember, Watson, that music appeals to oddly assorted people.
Mm-hmm.
Professor Moriarty, after all, knows no peer in his interpretation of certain of the Bach fugues.
Well, Mr. Holmes and Dr. Watson. Or is this other gentleman waiting?
No. I'm in no hurry.
It's no wonder the fame of your shop is worldwide, Mr. Marigot. I see you have some remarkable instruments.
You say about you the fruits of a lifetime of devotion to the violin. I must confess, Mr. Holmes, that it pains me every time I sell one of my treasures.
I can well believe it.
And have you made any further progress toward a solution of Drenko's death?
I feel safe in saying that my investigation has gleaned a few pertinent facts.
Would it be indiscreet for me to ask what they are?
Not at all. You yourself were present when I made the curious discovery regarding Drenko's violin being out of tune. And only a short time ago, while I happened to be playing my violin, Dr. Watson made a remark which threw further light on the case. Didn't you, Watson?
Huh? Oh, yes, of course, yes.
I don't know what kind of a violin you possess, Mr. Holmes, but I'm sure you'll appreciate one magnificent example that I'd like you to try. A Guarnarius, the equal of any Strad I've ever seen.
I'm afraid it would be far beyond the reach of my purse.
But you at least owe yourself the pleasure, the great experience of playing it. Here it is. Isn't it beautiful?
Exquisite. If the tone's as mellow as that varnish...
Oh, but of course. Why don't you take it into my private office and try it? No one will disturb you here.
Thank you. I've never had the good fortune to test the Guarnarius.
Dr. Watson, while Monsieur Holmes is amusing himself, perhaps you'd be interested in some of these bows?
Bows? Oh, yes. Horsehair thingamajigs, aren't they?
Well, there's more to it than that. There is only one family in all Italy, Dr. Watson, that possesses the secret of making a bow like this one.
It's all very fascinating, Mr. Marlowe, but Holmes must have made up his mind if he likes that fiddle by now. I know he wants to ask you some questions, and I thought that... Good heavens, what? He's lying on the floor. He must have fainted. Holmes!
I'm afraid he's dead. Quick, Dr. Watson. Go for the police.
And give you a chance to plant a bottle of cyanide by my side? Oh, no. Watson, stay here and listen to Marlowe confess how he murdered Drenko.
You're alive?
No, thanks to you. I took the trouble to dissect the violin you gave me, and then played one of the others here to lure you in.
He killed Drenko, but the suicide note...
Elementary, my dear Watson. I would hazard a guess that it was torn from the end of a letter to Marlowe referring to an unsatisfactory instrument, which was intolerable and which he couldn't endure any longer.
Holmes, Marlowe was nowhere near Drenko when he died.
Marlowe had left a very oddly constructed violin with Drenko, presumably last night, knowing that it was Drenko's habit to practice each morning from 8 till 10. Inside the violin, in place of a sound bar, Marlowe had put a thin glass vial containing cyanogen, the lethal gas which is identical in odor and effects with the cyanide.
Good heavens!
When Drenko reached the proper high note, the extremely thin glass vial cracked under the impact of the sympathetic vibrations, releasing the deadly fumes through the F-holes in the violin.
And the violin that Marlowe was delivering to Drenko when he discovered the corpse
Precisely, Watson. He merely left that one by the body, planted the note, and carried off the fatal weapon and all proof of the crime in his now empty case. He made only one error. He neglected to tune the violin he left.
Amazing, Holmes.
Listen very patiently, Monsieur Holmes, to your ingenious and utterly imaginary reconstruction. I suppose you can furnish a motive, too?
I'd prefer to spare Lady Ashley the ordeal, Marlowe. But I have no doubt that it was in you she confided that Drenko had been blackmailing her on the strength of their earlier romance.
But to convict a man of murder, you need something more than words. You need proof.
You seem to be overlooking this dissected violin on your desk, with which you attempted to murder me. I fancy that the sample of your handiwork with the vial of gas affixed therein will offer ample proof that...
You'll never send me to the guillotine. I'll kill myself first. But I'm going to take you...
Drop that vial, Marlowe.
Precisely what I intend to do. Drop it, then release the fumes that will put a speedy end to all three of us.
Give me that vial if you do not want a broken arm. There, that's better.
Good heavens, it's a nihilist. I'm an Inspector Bernard.
As you noticed when you commented on his beard and cloak, Watson, the inspector's tastes in disguise are a trifle flamboyant.
Now, Mr. Holmes, I must extend my thanks to you on behalf of the Sûreté.
Not at all, Inspector. Your promptness in acting in response to my message undoubtedly saved Watson's life and mine. Thank you.
Oh, no, Mr. Holmes. Thank you.
Oh, very well. Have it your way, Inspector.
Now, Marlowe, come along for a minute.
Phew, I say, it's rather too close a shave to suit me, Holmes. I say, that fellow Marlowe was very ingenious.
Quite. You know, Watson, I have one bitter regret concerning this case.
Regret?
I find that I have, despite all my protests, ended by acting for Drenko without a fee after all.
In just a moment, Dr. Watson will tell us something about next week's story. But first, girls, some of the most beautiful women in the world are Powers models. And one of their outstanding characteristics is their shining bright hair. Now, here's how they keep it shining.
Powers models use Kreml shampoo. This amazing beautifying shampoo has been especially developed to actually glamour bathe each tiny strand of hair, revealing all its natural glossy luster.
My wife says Kreml shampoo is wonderful for washing children's hair. How about that?
Yes, it would be, because there are no harsh caustics or chemicals in Kreml shampoo, and its luxurious active foam penetrates right to the scalp and removes all loose dandruff as well as the dirt.
Girls, if you could only see how Powers model's hair fairly radiates glossy highlights, I'm sure you'd want to try Kreml shampoo right away. You can get a bottle at any drug counter. Kreml, Kreml shampoo. Now, Dr. Watson, what about next week?
Well, now, let me see. Next week, I think I'll tell you about the adventure of the Sally Martin.
The Sally Martin?
She was a boat, Mr. Bell. A luxurious yacht. Holmes and I entered the case when her owner was found lying dead in his bunk with a knife stuck between his ribs.
Tonight's new Sherlock Holmes adventure was suggested by an incident in Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's story, The Illustrious Client. Nigel Bruce appeared by permission of California Pictures. Tom Conway through the courtesy of Eagle Lion Pictures. This is Joseph Bell speaking for Kreml Hair Tonic and Kreml Shampoo, and inviting you to be with us next week at this same time when Dr. Watson will tell us about the adventure of the Sally Martin. This is ABC, the American Broadcasting Company.
Crime does not pay.
Stay away from me, lady. Far away. I hate the sickness of you.
Of all the colossal gall. Georgie.
Yes, ma'am?
I want Bullseye. Get him for me.
Look, boss, nobody gets close enough to Bullseye to even see his face.
Why not?
His dog. It's more wolf than dog. It'll tear a man's throat open like a hot knife.
What's the matter, Georgie? Afraid of a dog?
Everybody's scared of that mud, boss. Not just me, everybody.
I want Bullseye. Nobody moves in on my territory and gets away with it. And if you won't take care of him for me, well, I'll have to devise a little plan to remove him myself.
In the interest of good citizenship and law enforcement, we present Crime Does Not Pay, based on the famous Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer series of short subjects. In a moment, you will hear The Gangster Was a Lady, starring Blanche Yerka. Now, Crime Does Not Pay, starring Blanche Yerka as Martha Lady Fuller in The Gangster Was a Lady. Crime has its roots in many places, in slums, in greed, in lack of education, in warped minds. Martha Fuller was a product of none of these conditions.
Educated, equally well-bred, Martha, known as Lady Fuller for obvious reasons, loved power and the feeling of controlling the destinies of men weaker than herself. Add to this a streak of cruelty plus a polish and personality that belied everything she did, and you have a picture of this woman who took the wrong way of her own volition, fully conscious of what she was about. Lady chose her field of operations, and with her loyal, if none too bright Lieutenant Georgie Linden, Lady Fuller moved in.
What do you want to come to a joint like this for, boss?
Be patient, Georgie. You'll see. Oh, waiter.
Yes, madame. Something we can do for you?
Does it matter which booth we sit in?
Oh, no, madame. No matter. Business is not busy this time of the day.
Very well. Sit down, Georgie. This will do as well as another. It's back far enough.
You wish to order, madame?
I'll have a stinger. Georgie?
A shaft with a beer chaser.
Sir, one stinger, one rye, beer chase.
And the proprietor.
Something is wrong?
From the sign on the window, I believe his name is Mario Festa.
Si.
Get Mr. Festa. Well, don't stand there. Bring Mr. Festa.
Yes, madame. Right away. One stinger, one rye, Mr. Festa.
It's a character, ain't he, boss?
Like most people who work for their money, weak, bumbling. As you would say, a character.
The woods is full of the boss.
I beg your pardon. You asked for me? Yes, ma'am, I am.
Sit down. I want to talk business.
You want to talk business?
One stinger, one rye, with beer and a side.
Yes, put them down and go away.
Well, Julio?
Yes, sir. Right away. Yes, sir, of course.
All right.
Well, now, here's to your increased business, Mr. Festa, after you've done business with me.
Well, perhaps, madame, you will explain this to me.
Trouble with your place, Festa, you don't have any music.
Oh, orchestra I cannot afford. Cabaret license is too expensive.
Canned music is reasonable.
Sure, we can let you have a jukebox and records cheap. All the latest. Bebop, everything. Make the joint jump.
Oh, please. I run the family-type restaurant with small bar, as you see. This kind of music, no, not for this place.
We think you ought to have one.
You tell me my business?
Show him, Georgie.
Check.
Ever seen brass knuckles before, Mr. Festa?
They fit good.
We think you ought to order a jukebox, Mr. Festa, from us.
Please, I don't make much money. I don't need the jukebox. Such music, such records,
The gentleman seems reluctant, Georgie. Show him your brand of salesmanship.
Check.
Get out. Get out. You lady. Hoodlum.
All right, Georgie. Pay him for the drinks. And for the insult.
You bet, boss. It's a pleasure.
Okay, Georgie. Use one of those paper napkins to clean the knuckles. Now then, you, Festa. We'll deliver a jukebox in the morning. The bill will be with it.
Please. Yes. Leave me alone. Please.
Pay your bills, that's all. Waiter, take care of your boss. And have someone clean up that blood on the floor.
Hey, boss. This character has a music maker.
Oh, I see. And here. Subtle gaudy, isn't it?
I don't know. I kind of like all those colored lights.
Well, I'll give you a lesson in taste later. Here's the owner.
Yes, madam, what can I for you?
You the Schwartz that owns this place?
I am.
Where did you get that horrible musical contraption?
The jukebox? I rent it.
You'll get a better deal with my firm.
Yeah? How do you know? I haven't told you what this one cost me.
Whatever it is, we'll cost you less.
You know, ma'am, I've rather been expecting you.
That's so. Very interesting.
You're Lady Fuller, aren't you? And this is your boy, George?
Should I give it to him now, boss?
Quiet, Georgie. May I inquire, Mr. Schwartz, how you know my name?
Of course. Mr. Bob Bolsey told me to expect you.
Bolsey? I see.
So you see, Miss Fuller, as I'm contracted with the Bolsey outfit, I can hardly deal with you. I'm sure you'll understand what would happen.
Oh, I understand. However, I think you'll soon be dealing with me.
Could you protect me against Bolsey?
That may not be necessary.
Careful, boss. We don't know this guy.
I think we know him very well. Now, he pays off to Bolsey out of my territory. Very well. Before he's much older, he'll pay off to us. But double, because he made his deal with Bolsey before he talked with me. Good afternoon, Mr. Schwartz.
What now, boss?
You'll see. Live long enough and you may learn, Orgy.
Yeah?
Mr. Bolsey?
Yeah. Who are you?
This is Martha Fuller.
Well, lady, to what or whom am I indebted for this honor?
You can cut the jokes until we meet in person, Bolsey.
You do really think we ever will?
Not if you don't get out of my territory and stay out. But I'll be happy to attend you.
You deal from the top of the deck, don't you, lady?
Straight from the top.
Yeah, well, so do I. Tell me, you ever met Butch?
Butch? Who's he?
Just a minute. Hey, Butch, come here. Say hello to the lady.
What is this, Bolsey? Another joke?
All right, down, Butch, down. No, lady, that's my bodyguard. Quite intelligent, too. Knows my enemies before I do at times.
Look here, I have no time for nonsense. You get out of my territory or there'll be real trouble.
I see. You stay away from me, lady. Far away. I'd hate to sick my dog on you.
The gall. Of all the colossal gall. Georgie.
Yes, ma'am?
I want Bolsey. Get him for me.
Look, boss, nobody gets close enough to Bolsey to even see his face.
Why not?
His dog. It's more wolf than dog. Tear a man's throat open like a hot knife in butter.
What's the matter, Georgie? Afraid of a dog?
Everybody's scared of that mutt, boss. Not just me, everybody.
I want Bolsey. Nobody moves in on my territory and gets away with it. If you won't take care of him for me, well, I'll just have to devise a little plan to remove him myself.
You got guts, boss.
And brains. Tell me, Georgie, does Bolsey go in for women?
Well, he ain't married, if that's what you mean.
That's part of it. You know, Georgie, I have an idea that a couple of ladies are going to call on Bob Bolsey and Butch.
A couple of dames?
That's what I said. Now pay strict attention, Georgie. This is what I have in mind.
Yeah, Freddie. Hey, you got visitors.
Yeah? We expecting anybody?
Had a couple of dames, anyhow.
Dames? Here? All right. Quiet, Butch.
Yeah, you know, that mutt makes me nervous.
Yeah, he won't bother you unless I tell him to. What about the dames?
They got nerve, if nothing else.
Yeah? No looks?
They'll do. Anyways, they sashay through the outside door, and the blonde says, "We've come to see Mr. Robert Bolsey. Is he in?"
Just like that, huh? This I gotta see.
And now you do see, Mr. Bolsey. You don't mind, I hope? Your man took so long.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
You want us to toss him out, boss?
Well, I wouldn't think it. All right. Quiet, Butch.
What a wonderful dog. Is Butch his name?
Yeah. All right, boy. Yeah, that's his name.
He doesn't seem to like my sister and me.
No, he's wary of strangers.
Are you that way, too?
Yeah, usually. What's your name?
Mary. Mary Fairbanks.
Yeah. Your sister?
Louise. But she's a little shy with strangers. That's why she hasn't said anything.
Yeah, I don't like this, boss. Let me throw him out.
Before we find out what their business is? Of course not. What is your business with me, ladies?
Our business? This. All right, Georgie.
Check, boss. Hey, boss, she's got a gun. The other one ain't no dame.
Butch, go get him. Wait. You shot Butch.
I told you to stay out of my territory, Bolsey. Let him have it, Georgie.
No, don't you...
You see, Georgie, the dog was no trouble at all.
I almost didn't get the heater out, boss. women's clothes.
I must say you don't wear them with any style, Georgie. But no matter, our business is taken care of. Leave it to the mortgage sale. We have business elsewhere.
In just a moment, Crime Does Not Pay will continue with The Gangster Was a Lady. Now we continue with Crime Does Not Pay, starring Blanche Yerka as Martha Lady Fuller in The Gangster Was a Lady. In due course, following the killing of Bob Bolsey and his man, the bodies were found, the police were called, and the routine of investigation was begun. Witnesses were their usual forgetful selves, as they usually are in such cases. Other members of Bolsey's gang found employment of sorts elsewhere, and the police under Lieutenant Dave Burns apparently drew a complete blank. But Lieutenant Burns was well aware of the rivalry between the Bolsey gang and the ladies' outfit. It was his business to know such things. Therefore, he sent his sergeant, Johnny Platt, on an errand. The sergeant returned, his errand completed.
Here, Lieutenant.
Okay. Bring him in.
All right, you two in here.
Not exactly a luxurious layout, is it, Georgie?
Oh, I seen some precincts that was dirtier.
We'll do without that.
Got your book and pencil, Sergeant?
Yes, sir.
You don't mind, Miss Fuller, if we take down your statement?
Well, if you get a statement from either of us.
Yeah. We ain't talking.
We'll see about that.
Do you mind if I sit down?
As a matter of fact, I do mind, Fuller.
Well, you're hardly a gentleman.
Save it, Fuller. Who's going to sit in my office? You picked yourself a man's racket, expect to be treated like a man.
Oh, I see. Kind of third degree.
I want the answers to a few questions, and I intend to get them.
Apparently you don't care particularly what methods you use to obtain those answers.
No, apparently I don't. Did you kill Bolsey and his boy?
You really don't expect me to answer that, do you, Lieutenant?
Where were you the afternoon he was killed?
Let me see. Oh, yes. George and I went for a drive in the country. Nature at this time of year is lovely, don't you think?
Save it. Anybody see you in the country?
Did anyone, Georgie?
No, not a living soul.
Afraid we have no other alibi, Lieutenant.
Bolsey invaded your territory, didn't he?
Well, everybody knows that. I believe it was reported in the daily newspapers.
Mm-hmm. That means war in your kind of world, doesn't it?
Does it? You seem to know all the answers, Lieutenant. Why ask me?
I'm consulting you for an expert opinion.
My consultant's fee is high, Lieutenant.
Then you admit you are an expert.
I admit nothing. And your sergeant can write that down, too. Now then, Lieutenant, I'm tired of standing. Are you holding us on charges or just making talk?
Well, I could hold you on suspicion. I may do just that.
And I want my lawyer before either George or I say another word. And, by the way, I wouldn't advise you to try to use that prospect in court, our claim duress. I doubt if a jury would like that. After all, I am a woman, Lieutenant.
All finished, Fuller?
For the moment, yes.
Good. Now get this. I think you and your boy here killed Bolsey. I'm not too sure you didn't do this town a favor if you did kill him. But the law is the law. Someone will fry for those killings. The next time you come back here, you'll come back to stay.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Thank you so much for the warning. I'm sure it's offered in a cooperative spirit. Come along, Georgie. I believe our visit here is at an end. Or did you have any further questions, Lieutenant?
Get out, lady. Get out quick before I forget I'm an officer of the law and a gentleman.
Here he is, Lieutenant. See? Wounds all healed.
Yeah. Great job, Doc. We found him. He looked like one dead dog.
Just creased, I think you call it. The bullet cut through the flesh on his skull and scored the top of his head. A fraction of an inch lower, he would have been dead.
Seems like a gentle enough hound for a German shepherd.
Why? They have a reputation for viciousness?
Well, from all we heard at headquarters, the whole underworld was scared of him. I believe he did kill a man once. Bolsey used him as a bodyguard.
Dog's been through a bad time. Suffered from shock. Here, Butch. Hi, fella.
Yeah, boy. Next thing you'll have him sit up and beg.
Oh, he'd learn that sort of thing quite easily. He's an intelligent animal.
Say, could Bolsey merely build up a legend about Butch?
Easy, boy. Easy. Well, not necessarily. Dogs can go through personality changes as a result of shock, just as humans do sometimes.
What do you know? Live and learn, huh?
In any case, he's safe for children now.
Up, Butch. Up.
What do you want me to do with him?
He's the only witness for the state. He deserves protection.
You're running up a big bill, Lieutenant. Butch has an expensive diet.
I think I'll take him with me, Doc.
What do you do with him?
Oh, keep him around. I got a hunch about him.
Yeah?
I have the idea that, well, dogs are pretty loyal. Not much judgment, but loyal. Butch didn't know what his master really was, and he didn't care. But he just might be as interested, almost anyway, as I am in finding the party who killed his master. Looks like homicide has itself a pet to take care of.
Looks like Festa doing business, doesn't it, Georgie?
Sure does.
You, Festa, come here.
What do you want? More money? I don't have it. The joint's full. It's jumping. I can't pay you more.
That's what you think. $10 a week more, starting now.
I won't do it.
Georgie, call Julio over here.
What are you going to do?
Hey, Julio, come here.
You don't make more trouble.
You calling me, boss? All right, Georgie, lesson 2 for Mr. Festa. Let him have it.
What you do with that gun?
No. You need a new waiter, Festa. This one's got a hole in him. You pay, Festa, or we'll ventilate you the same way. There's the total for the week, Georgie. $2.5 grand. Not bad. Not bad at all.
I'll never understand it, boss. All that dough from the nickels and music boxes.
Simple arithmetic, Georgie. Enough of anything always adds up to a lot.
2.5 G's a week. Yippee.
Yeah, it'll get better as we expand our business. Answer the door, will you, Georgie?
Yeah, sure, boss.
Another 50 machines in the East Hill district. About a dozen on the south side. And in the suburbs. I'll leave
Hey, we
one
got
in.
company, boss. The pencil-pushing cop.
Oh, Sergeant Platt. Well, this is an unexpected pleasure.
I hope it's a pleasure, Miss Fuller.
That sounds ominous.
The lieutenant wants to see you. Said he'd have come himself, but he's kind of busy. He told me to apologize.
Wasn't the lieutenant being a trifle sarcastic, Sergeant?
So sergeants don't ask questions, lady, not from lieutenants. I got a squad car outside. Are you coming?
No need to be so forceful, Sergeant. We'll be happy to visit the lieutenant, won't we, Georgie? Shall we go, gentlemen?
This way, Miss Fuller. You remember.
Yes, indeed I do. Don't look so worried, Georgie. I'm sure all the lieutenant wants are the answers to a few more questions. This is the door, isn't it, Sergeant?
Yeah, that's it.
Well, Lieutenant Burns, how are you?
Fair enough, Fuller. I see you brought your boy.
Of course, you asked for him, didn't you?
Quiet, boy. Quiet.
What a nice big dog.
Ever seen him before?
Sergeant. Yes, sir.
Can't say I have.
He looks like
A lot of other police dogs. Intelligent animals, for the most part. Is our police department setting up a canine division?
Oh, no, nothing like that. I found this fellow in bad shape. Had a vet fix him up. He's mine now.
I see. Nice of you, Lieutenant.
Shall we get to business, Fuller?
Of course.
I'm holding you on suspicion of murder. The Bolsey case.
You haven't a shred of evidence.
We might get some.
In 48 hours...
Maybe less. We have our ways.
You dare lay a finger on me?
No, never on you. Not that some of our matrons wouldn't like the job, but we like to try the weaker sister first. I wonder how Georgie here would enjoy a small session in our cellar.
Nobody can make me talk if I don't want to.
You'll want to.
My lawyer will have us out of here before you can...
I don't have to let you talk to a lawyer for 24 hours.
You try anything like this, Lieutenant, and I'll sue the city. I'll have your job...
But I am trying.
You'll get no place. You'll have no corroborating witnesses.
Oh, won't I?
You'll have nothing to take into court.
Sergeant, hold the man.
Yes, sir. Take your hands off me, copper.
Go get her, Butch.
Butch? Holmes' dog?
Yes. And he knows you, doesn't he?
Hold him. Hold him.
Oh, it's a good leash. Chain. He's got his temper back, Sergeant. Stick her, Butch. Get her, boy.
Keep away from me. Keep off.
Scared now, Fuller, when you haven't got your gun to shoot him with. Go get her, Butch.
Hold him.
Tears your hem neatly, doesn't he? Wonder what he'll do to your leg or your throat.
Stop it, he'll kill her.
Go on, Butch. Back her into the corner. Go on.
Back down. You harm me for life. You kill me. Hold him.
He's a wolf. That's no dog. It's a wolf.
Get away from me. Get away.
How'd you do it, Fuller? We heard about 2 dames.
Get away. Get away, I say.
How'd you get close enough to Bolsey? How, Fuller?
Georgie and my clothes. Our guns. Get that beast away. Get away.
Who else did you kill? Talk, Fuller. Talk.
No one. Georgie killed the waiter.
You told me to. You ordered it. You planned the whole thing.
Get away. Get that dog away. Get anything. Get that dog away.
All right, down, Butch. Butch, stop it. Stop it. There we are. All right, Sergeant. We book them both for murder. Strange it's how a dog can change its personality.
Crime does not pay. Blanche Yerka, who was starred as Martha Lady Fuller in The Gangster Was a Lady, will be back with you in just a moment. Now, here in person is Blanche Yerka.
It seems to me that if there is a moral to this story, it lies in the word fear. The 2 proprietors who were among the lady's victims let fear rule them. But it was too late. Everyone learned the high price of fear. A little courage at the beginning, when the victims had a chance to call in the proper authorities, might have obviated most of the damage done by the lady. Proper action at the proper time in real life will obviate a great deal of the damage done today by organized crime. But fear makes the price very high. The price is always too high for all concerned when you have to learn the hard way that crime does not pay.
Thank you, Miss Yerka. Crime Does Not Pay is written by Ira Marion and directed by Marks B. Loeb, with music composed and conducted by John Gart. Technical advisor is Burton B. Turkis. The of its characters and names used in the story you've just heard are fictitious. Any similarity is purely coincidental.